All right, you and I are about to watch a simple office worker prove that Mondays are not for playing around. And right in the middle of it all, our main character walks by, half dead from lack of sleep, wondering what forbidden potion salaryman chugged down just to stay functional at this hour of the morning. He has been in this office grind for 2 whole months and still cannot adapt. Suddenly, cigarette smoke fills the air. A guy nearby gets instantly annoyed, complaining about morning smokers, as if his own lungs paid the country's taxes. Meanwhile, our main character is honestly way too tired to care. Just ahead, three crypto bros are causing absolute chaos at the entrance. The blonde one laughs while staring at his phone. Beside him, a heavy guy looks on the verge of tears because his portfolio just dropped 40%. Another skinny dude starts mocking him, saying, "Not even Warren Buffett's ancestors could save that trash portfolio." The heavy guy snaps back, shouting that you only lose money if you sell. Yeah, right, buddy. And the Titanic only sank because it touched water. The skinny guy keeps roasting him, saying if he sells now, his leftover cash barely equals an office worker's monthly salary. He instantly roars back, asking what kind of broke third world mindset that even is. Watching this circus, our main character gets annoyed. Keep your eyes on this because things are getting tense. These jobless punks act like they own the place. He thinks if he were 5 years younger, this would end very differently. Crypto really ruined an entire generation. The world changes in 10 years, but idiots like this somehow survive in every era. Still, he decides to ignore them. Dealing with them is a side quest for the cops, not his business. But then an elderly security guard approaches and kindly asks them to move since the smoke is drifting into the lobby. A perfectly normal request, right? Too bad these guys share a single brain cell. The blonde punk mocks him, claiming the old man basically just told them to get lost. The skinny guy joins in like a laughing background extra. That is when the heavy dude completely loses it. He grabs the elderly guard by his collar and screams, asking if he thinks he is tough just wearing a security uniform. The old man panics and tries to explain, but the guy just keeps yelling directly in his face, asking if that pathetic paycheck is going to cover his stress and market losses. Meanwhile, the blonde records everything on his phone. Classic. He saw someone being harassed and only thought about farming clout online. Everyone walking by just ignores it and looks away. Typical bystander effect in full force. But right here, guys, someone suddenly ruins the recording by stepping into the frame. With the most exhausted face imaginable, our main character asks if they are filming anything good, claiming to be a pirate from Manhwa, who does not tolerate injustice. And naturally, he suggests people should leave a like and subscribe. That random interruption completely catches them off guard. The blonde stammers in shock while the skinny guy wonders where this basic salaryman came from. Our main character slowly looks at them with an icy stare. Right next to them, the guard and the heavy guy watch as the salaryman lectures them about respecting their elders, treating people nicely, and supporting the stream. Hearing that intense tone, the two bullies instantly back down in absolute terror. He went from humble desk worker to terrifying final boss in a single sentence. They apologize immediately, nodding along, but the heavy guy still has absolutely no clue what is happening. He starts screaming at his friends, asking why they are bowing down to a worthless wage slave. They panic. They beg him to shut up before he gets them killed, calling his suicidal attitude completely insane and reckless. Right then, our main character's expression shifts. Very calmly, he begins listing his exact gross salary. After deductions, he reveals his exact monthly take-home pay, and the heavy guy laughs, calling it pocket change. Huge mistake. The protagonist steps closer, stating that honest people wake up early and work tirelessly just to earn that amount. The loudmouth snaps back that he easily makes that in a single week. The moment those words leave his mouth, our main character grabs his face with pure quiet fury. He warns him that even if the numbers match easy money, will never hold the same value before slamming him into the pavement. Total system shutdown. The blonde watches in absolute horror, realizing his instincts were entirely correct. Even with his new look, he is still that same monster, and you and I are definitely ready for what comes next. Come watch with me as our main character explains he didn't beat him over a salary insult. He attacked him for disrespecting the work itself. The guy immediately apologizes, and that is when the truth drops. 10 years ago, at just 18, this man conquered the entire underworld and stood at the absolute peak of violence. People used to call him the Legend. Back in the present, he spots bloodstains on his shirt and gets mad because he washed it yesterday. He cares more about laundry than assault charges. Nearby, the blonde guy is still confused about why someone so terrifying is working a desk job instead of running a criminal empire. Then suddenly, the main character appears right in front of him. Instant teleportation. The guy completely freezes. The main character comments that his shirt looks clean. Yeah, because he is taking it off. At this range, the blonde is so terrified he feels like he is going to collapse. Next scene, they are riding a motorcycle. The blonde is shirtless, while our main character sits behind him wearing that Gucci shirt he definitely did not get legally. Now pay attention here because the writer asks why an absolute legend ended up as a basic office worker. He answers that titles like legend are just childish, completely worthless memories. As you grow older, you realize real strength belongs to those who wake up early and work honestly, no matter how exhausting life gets. Those people are the truly strong ones. For a second, he even smiles and tells the guy not to waste his life with regrets like he did. The writer calmly replies that he's actually super happy with life making about 6 million won a month. And for the first time in the entire chapter, our protagonist is completely shocked. He just learned this side character makes 3 times more than him. He immediately tries to act cool, saying he will put the shirt to good use. The guy panics, yelling it is limited edition Gucci, but he gets cut off. They are running late, so he accelerates. Next, we see a giant corporate building. This is Samjin Group, ranked 30th in the Korean business world. Construction-heavy industry, leisure money, and massive influence. Your typical company that smiles in commercials while emotionally crushing thousands of its workers behind the scenes. But we both know how these Korean corporate empires operate behind their luxurious facades. There is always a department doing the dirty work at the bottom of the food chain. Carrying that burden was Samjin Corporation, a place so profit-hungry they would sell expired dog food to strays if the profit margin was good enough. Inside the office, our main character is getting scolded mercilessly by his manager. The boss slams a folder onto the desk, glaring at him like he is personally responsible for the global recession. Employee Kwan, do you think this is a joke? Poor Kwan immediately tries to explain himself. Manager, it is not what, but the boss cuts him off instantly. Then what on earth are you doing right now? Everyone in the office keeps their heads down. Standard workplace survival rule, never make eye contact with a raging boss. And that is how the trouble starts. The manager picks up the report and reads it aloud with complete disappointment. I asked you to find unique places to buy used motorcycles. Then he squints hard at the paper. Denny Market. Bengai Market. The boss looks ready to report these sketchy places straight to the health department. Kwan calmly points out they technically are unique locations, but the manager cuts him off aggressively. Do you think this company is here to boost your self-esteem? Then he lowers his voice, which is way scarier. Kwan, I am not asking for the impossible. I do not have time to micromanage your every move. He apologizes in a quiet voice, but the frustrated manager keeps telling him to just do his job. Then he rubs his forehead like the workplace stress just shaved 5 whole years off his life. It is like talking to a brick wall. Whatever, just get back to your desk already. Kwan leaves the office totally crushed, muttering to himself, a wall. He got completely roasted by middle management. Nearby, a coworker watches him sulk at his desk. Her name is Mi, and unlike the rest, she still has some empathy left. She tells him not to take it personally, the boss is just super sensitive today. Then she drops some classic office advice. If you let every tiny criticism get to you, you will not survive here. Kwan instantly shoots back, says the girl who always speaks her mind. Mai just shrugs. Stick with me because she is about to reveal the massive morning drama. All right, you and I are about to watch poor manager Kim get completely destroyed over a shipping dispute. And right then, boom, the office door is kicked wide open. Everyone freezes instantly. A man bursts in, screaming in absolute rage. Where is Kim? Right away, we meet this guy who clearly has some major anger management issues. It is director Cha Wik-jin of Mujin Shipping. Manager Kim stands up terrified, asking what brings him by today. Director Cha glares with total disgust. What brings me? I'm here to renegotiate these damn shipping rates. Manager Kim suggests they sit down and talk calmly, but Director Cha cuts him off completely. Enough. Bring me the contract. Kwan whispers quietly to me, asking who this absolute madman is. She explains that after President Cha fell, this guy took over Mujin, and the sudden power went straight to his head like cheap alcohol. From across the room, they watch Director Cha screaming furiously right at Manager Kim. Mai whispers that you cannot imagine how much he abuses his power. Then she drops an even worse detail. The poor manager's taking the fall for everyone. Kim desperately tries to de-escalate the incredibly tense situation. He explains they already adjusted the shipping rates 3 times this year, but Director Cha does not care at all. Meanwhile, Mi shares another terrifying rumor. Apparently, he started training in mixed martial arts and now he is beating people up. This guy is totally out of his mind. Watch closely here because Director Cha goes ahead and stomps ruthlessly on the manager's foot. Manager Kim clutches his leg, groaning in agonizing pain. Cha screams that Mujin is losing money on delayed exports. If rates do not drop right now, he swears no ships are leaving. Manager Kim apologizes once again, but Director Cha just continues his aggressive attack. If I do not get answers this week, we are switching carriers. That is my final word. The entire office falls dead silent. My whispers to Quan to just ignore everything. Honestly, it is the classic corporate survival mentality. Ignore, survive, get paid, and repeat. She even says finding another shipping company would be more useful than watching this disaster. Now here's where things get incredibly good because suddenly, Quan just completely vanishes. Wait, did Quan just disappear like some revenge protagonist ready to fight? Meanwhile, Director Cha grabs a folder off the desk. If you do not want to break the contract, he says, raising the folder like he's about to strike, you better start behaving. But before the strike can land, someone grabs his wrist tightly. It is Quan. The room freezes completely. Quan looks at him calmly, stating that these are important documents and should not be messed with. Director Cha turns around slowly. Who on earth do you think you are? Quan replies, completely unfazed. With Mujin Shipping. Director Cha bursts out laughing. From Mujin. Well, this kid is actually interesting. He starts poking his forehead aggressively, treating him like a dog. Listen here, you low-level employee. Then he smirks mockingly, asking if they do not teach basic manners around here anymore. When meeting someone for the first time, bam! He kicks Quan in the leg. You bow down first. The blow forces Quan onto one knee. Director Cha looks down at him arrogantly. What are you staring at, idiot? And for the first time in forever, Quan gets genuinely angry. Not just annoyed or tired, absolutely furious. Tension spikes, but before disaster strikes, Manager Kim steps in. He apologizes to Cha and promises to rethink the rates. Quan looks devastated. Manager Kim completely ignores his own humiliation, politely sending off the awful director. And after causing all that absolute chaos, Director Cha just struts out like nothing happened. Later that night, we see Quan and Manager Kim standing together on the rooftop. The manager offers him a cigarette, asking if he smokes. Quan says he quit 10 years ago, leaving Kim stunned. But are you not 28? Yes. Even the manager's totally confused now. Then he asks a very unexpected question. Do you know why the company hired you? Quan awkwardly replies that it was probably because of his good grades. The manager bursts out laughing, immediately crushing him with some brutal reality. Your only credentials are a high school dropout status and a motorcycle license. HR took a massive risk that day. Then the manager gets serious, confessing. He looked closely at his eyes. He saw a real drive to actually achieve something great, not just survive until lunch. That is when the manager gives him the most painful corporate reality check of all. Out there are simply too many people you cannot reason with. And that is where we leave it because sometimes corporate survival means bowing your head and taking the hit. Stick with me because this cover-up keeps the company safe. He pats Quan's shoulder, telling him to play dumb if it ever happens again. If you did see it, just forget it, Quan softly calls out to him, manager. But before moving on, Manager Kim turns around with a faint smile, revealing how he truly feels inside. Honestly, forgetting the company as a man, it is humiliating getting kicked in the head by some punk at my age. Those words strike deep into Quan's soul. For a brief second, the rooftop falls into dead silence. Suddenly, Manager Kim tries to salvage his pride, claiming he did not fail to dodge, he just let him land it. Quan immediately plays along. The manager nods proudly, bragging about his glory days. Yeah, sure, old man. Back to work. Night falls over another location. The blonde biker chats with Quan over the phone like a loyal sidekick from a cheap movie, saying he can tell he has been training hard lately. Meanwhile, Quan stands in front of a mixed martial arts gym. The blonde asks if he should tag along. Quan orders him to shower and get some sleep. The guy responds instantly, showing almost military loyalty. Call me anytime, boss. Hanging up, Quan smiles terrifyingly, wondering if the manager knows who it is these bullies actually fear. Then his face completely darkens. Someone even more unhinged. Inside the gym, while two people train Director Cha is brutally beating a poor guy to a pulp. The fighter tries to block in desperation, begging him to stop. But Director Cha keeps swinging. He demands he defend himself to earn his cash, ending with a brutal punch to the face. The guy flies backwards, slamming hard onto the floor. An instant knockout. Two people rush to help him. Meanwhile, Director Cha just laughs, claiming he barely touched him and calling him a crybaby. Behind his back, the gym owner collapses, asking if he really intends to keep doing this. If he keeps hurting his guys, he cannot turn a blind eye. But the director instantly shifts to a threatening tone. He reminds him how desperate he was when begging for financial help. A total low blow of emotional blackmail. The owner panics. With a cold smile, the director offers a stack of cash for the boys' dinner. He says that for relationships to last, people need to eat well. The owner looks at the money very nervous. The director mocks him, waving the bills and asking if he wants more, calling him a greedy scammer. If he does not take it in 5 seconds, he will pocket it. Now watch closely right here. Kwon calmly signs up for a month. The owner turns around politely, but Director Cha recognizes him instantly. Surprised, he smirks and asks what a rat like him is doing here. Kwon loosens his tie completely unbothered. He asks if they can fight right away, and just like that, they both end up in the ring. Director Cha cracks his neck, complaining that this is the main problem with people nowadays. Everyone thinks they suffer the most. He puts on his headgear, claiming no one understands the stress of being a leader. He insists their lives are worthless, looking down on him, hating that a rookie is trying to act tough, especially a kid with no money or connections, just crumbs of pride. Then he smiles maliciously. He asks if he is trying to avenge Manager Kim. Kwon stretches casually, replying that he talks too much. Then he looks him dead in the eye and says he probably has no friends. The entire gym falls silent. Director Cha completely loses his mind. Blinded by rage, he charges at Kwon, swearing he will not walk away this time. Kwon dodges effortlessly, saying he only pays money to beat people up, just to feel like he has some actual power. The director freezes for a second, then attacks again, swearing to kill him. Kwon dodges again, mocking him for ignoring his words and proving he really has no friends. You probably will not believe this, but the director is completely broken inside. Finally, Kwon raises his fist. The director laughs arrogantly, warning him that if he throws that punch, he can kiss his job at the company goodbye. But Kwon does not hesitate for a second. A loud crack echoes as his fist smashes into the director's jaw. The mouthguard goes flying. Everyone is frozen solid while Kwon slowly grins. He says if he were afraid to die, taking another step forward, he never would have come here. His fist flies straight toward the director's face. Everyone fears the absolute worst, but it stops just millimeters away. The whole gym freezes, and trust me, instead of hitting him. All right, you and I are about to watch Kwon completely humiliate Choi with a single finger, turning a deathmatch into absolute child's play. It's pure disrespect as Kwon starts mocking him, saying, "Look at you shaking like a leaf. One more tap and you'll wet your pants." Choi's face instantly flushes red, not from physical pain, but from total, absolute, emotional destruction. Meanwhile, Kwon calculates his next move. If he acts too fast, the company will end up taking the fall, so he decides to mentally break him instead. Talk about a brilliant, ruthless move of corporate mind games. Director Choi completely loses his mind, screaming insults while Kwon just watches him calmly calculating his very next move. He needs Choi to state the terms out loud, a solid promise that the business won't suffer no matter what happens next. And just as he finishes laying out the trap, pay close attention right here. Out of nowhere, Choi lands a brutal punch straight to his face. Everyone in the gym freaks out, but guess what? Kwon doesn't even blink. He shrugged off that hit like it was just another day of unpaid corporate overtime. He looks back and coldly tells him that real corporate professionals aren't scared of a little thing like death. That completely sets Choi off. He unleashes a desperate wild flurry, screaming that Kwon is just too scared to fight back. But this time, stop. Kwon instantly catches the brutal blow with a wide-open palm. Squeezing his fist, he warns him that whatever happens from here on out, the company remains strictly off-limits. Choi grins like a maniac. So that is what this whole speech was actually about. He mocks him for caring about the company, then confidently sneers that he accepts the deal. The moment the words leave his mouth, the director leaps up, grabbing Kwon's arm to lock him in. He wraps his legs around Kwon's neck, violently ripping back on his arm with every ounce of strength. Everyone in the gym panics while Choi cackles, shouting that this won't end with some basic kick. He promises he will ruin him forever. And wow, a literal flying armbar out of absolutely nowhere. Bet you didn't see that move coming. Dude literally mashed the controller buttons for that one. Kwon is completely locked down, his arm pinned and neck squeezed as Choi tries to choke him, yet he stays dead calm. You promised the company would stay out of this. And then a terrifying sound. Crack! Kwon starts bending his trapped arm back using pure brute strength. Choi's eyes go wide at this absolute madness. He finally realizes he's dealing with a literal demon in a business suit. Next second, boom! Let's pause right here as Kwon lifts him up and slams him, making the entire ring shake with absolute force. What a devastating slam. Choi's brain almost shuts off, completely leaving everyone in the gym totally speechless. And after that brutal slam, Kwon just stands up like nothing even happened. The gym owner rushes over, calling for an ambulance, while our main character calmly fixes his suit and leaves a message. When he wakes up, tell him this. A real man always keeps his word. The owner looks at him terrified, asking what kind of monster he is. His reply, "I'm just an office worker." As he walks away, the gym owner mutters it again. A simple office worker. Yeah, right. And great white sharks are just friendly goldfishes. We cut to our main character's apartment. Bandages are scattered everywhere as he treats his sore shoulder. He admits he's slightly underestimated Choi's sheer insanity. Not because he's a pro fighter, but because the lunatic pulled off a flying armbar from a random online tutorial. If he had slipped up for even a second, things would have gotten seriously messy. Right then, his phone starts ringing off the hook. It's Miss McGee. Answering, he asks why she's calling so early. Before he can even finish, she screams in a panic, asking what on earth happened yesterday with Director Choi. She starts scolding him for finding trouble again, leaving our guy looking completely and utterly confused. She explains that Choi just rolled into the office with a squad of armed thugs looking for him. Even Kwan is caught off guard by that. MGA warns him that Manager Kim explicitly ordered him to stay away today. She begs him to just stay home and rest, but our protagonist has the survival instinct of a literal brick. We cut back to the office where the corporate work environment is now completely ruined. Director Choi shows up wrapped in bandages like a budget mummy flanked by thugs staring down Manager Kim for an immediate answer. Deliver Kwan or they hike the rates. You and I will find out what happens next. All right, you and I need to watch this. Manager Kim asks why he wants Kwan, and Choi smiles, saying he will forgive yesterday. But under one condition, Kwan must kneel, bow his head, and apologize properly. If he does, he promises to keep the original deal. While talking, he points right toward the office entrance. Everyone turns and freezes. Kwan is standing there, completely out of breath. He rushed to work like it was a final battle. The office staff immediately starts whispering. They cannot understand how things escalated this far when nobody is a criminal. Manager Kim protests right away. How can he demand something so absurd? But before they can say another word, Kwan suddenly interrupts. This is incredibly childish. I cannot stand watching this. Even Manager Kim is completely left speechless. Quinn marched forward furious and reminds him of yesterday's promise. Did he not swear he would not cause company losses? But Director Choi just smiles shamelessly. He claims he is only renegotiating the terms for the company's own good. Hearing that, Kwan bursts out laughing. Did that punch that knocked you out erase your memory? The entire office explodes. A punch! Everyone instantly starts staring at the bandages covering Director Choi's swollen face. Watch closely right here. Kwan says that a scare bad enough to make you pee yourself causes temporary memory loss. I did not pee myself, yells Director Choi, absolutely furious. Quen points at him instantly. So you do remember you change your story just like a little child. Seriously, show some dignity. Every single word he says brings Choi one step closer to a heart attack. Manager Kim quickly asks him what happened, but Choi loses his mind again. He screams that unless Kwan kneels down and crawls between his legs, but suddenly Kwan ducks down and crawls right through his legs. The entire office goes dead silent. Choi's brain completely short-circuits. Then Kwan stands up behind him and says, everyone heard that, right? If I crawl through, he keeps the original contract. That was the promise, and he calmly adds that he trusts Choi will keep his word this time around. After all, credibility is everything for a businessman. Choi's face contorts with pure, unbridled rage. You son of a before. Everything explodes. Manager Kim holds him back to calm things down, but then smack! The loud sound of a slap echoes through the office. Total silence. Director Choi just slapped Manager Kim, furiously roaring at him if he has a death wish for touching him. And this is where things change. Did you catch his look? Kwan remembers Kim's words about ignoring this abuse. As a man, it is deeply humiliating. Kwan clenches his fists. Some lines are not meant to be crossed, and he stands up. A man's pride cannot be trampled on, but suddenly one of Choi's hired thugs grabs him by the shoulder. The guy warns him to shut up when his elders are speaking. Kwan grabs his arm with a terrifying coldness. From this very moment, no matter what happens, keep your mouth shut or you are going home with only one arm. Hearing that, Choi completely loses control. Get him crush them all. Manager Kim and Miji completely panic as they witness this absolute chaos unfolding. Kwan gets ready to fight everyone himself, but a sudden voice interrupts this incredibly tense moment. Crush them. Who exactly do you plan on destroying? Everyone turns toward the entrance at once. Seeing who is there, Director Choi suddenly smiles. Look who it is. Miji is frozen in shock. It is our director, Becky Jin. The atmosphere shifts instantly and the thugs halt. Choi sarcastically asks if everyone in this company is used to meddling in other people's business. Can she not see that this is actual work? But Jin fires back immediately. This is no place for puppet directors. Talk about a direct hit. She praises President Choi for the company, then takes off her glasses and adds with sheer contempt, though he clearly did not raise his son well. Choi explodes in rage. What did you just say? But she completely ignores him. Jean hands him a folder explaining that out of respect for his father, she tolerated his behavior until today. But trash does not change across generations. Upon opening the file, Choi's expression completely shifts. Inside is proof of all his dirty work, violence, illegal parties, abuse of power, and more. And that is where we leave it today. Jin humiliates Choi, saying he ruined his record just like his face. Furious director Choi asks if she is threatening him, but Yi-jin calmly reminds him who holds the real power here. Now pay attention, she notices something extremely suspicious. If delays hurt exports, Mujin Shipping should also lose money. So why is director Choi delaying the departures on purpose? It seems staying docked makes him even more money. Hearing that director Choi flashes a cold smirk, is she trying to frame them now? Does she really think she can beat around the bush with them? Then he asks, straight out, does this mean they no longer want to do business with Mujin Shipping? Yi-jin replies casually that anyone is free to interpret things however they want. Hearing that Choi glares with pure hatred warns them they will regret this emotional decision and storms out with his men. Yi-jin slowly turns to Kwon, suggesting they speak in private. Next scene, director Yi-jin's office. Yi-jin manager Kim Miji and Kwon are all there. The tension is incredibly awkward. Finally, Yi-jin breaks the silence. She asks bluntly about yesterday's incident. Did Kwon really go looking for director Choi just to assault him? But Kwon quickly corrects her. Technically, it was not assault, but a legal match between two fighters of the same sport. Besides, director Choi threw the first punch. That answer leaves absolutely everyone in total shock. Miji starts screaming, "What do you mean a match with director Choi?" Even manager Kim looks completely horrified. I do not know about you, but this was getting serious. While everyone panics, Yi-jin stays incredibly calm. Because of Kwon's reckless behavior, the shipment of 500 motorcycles has been completely delayed. Storage fees, losses, and damages are already reaching nearly 1 billion won. Hearing that, manager Kim immediately apologizes and takes full blame for not keeping his employee under control. Meanwhile, Miji thinks everything would have been easier if Kwon had not interfered. Why make things even worse? Seeing them apologize for his mistake makes Kwon feel awful. Suddenly, manager Kim's words echo in his mind. Sometimes the sad duty of an employee is to swallow their pride just to protect the company. Kwon clenches his fist and says something unexpected: if you do not sell, you do not lose money. Everyone looks confused. Even Yi-jin raises an eyebrow. Kwon explains that he once heard that from a merchant friend. After all, the bikes are not sold yet, so technically these losses are just projections for now. Suddenly, he gets serious and starts talking about exporting the bikes. Trust me, you'll want to watch this. He confidently promises to solve this entire mess all by himself. Hearing that, director Yi-jin smiles slightly and leans back in her seat. He is crazier than she thought. Next scene, Kwon Miji and manager Kim exit the office after surviving that absolute corporate apocalypse. Everyone looks mentally exhausted, especially Miji. It seems like the human resources department literally stole her soul. She sighs deeply and reminds Kwon of something very important. Let me get this straight. Did you seriously say you would handle all of this alone? Meanwhile, Kwon looks nervous for the first time. And honestly, the intense glares from Miji and manager Kim are way scarier than facing street thugs. How did they end up as accomplices? Kwon reminds them of the harsh reality. Now they must move 500 bikes in 1 week. Even Miji doubts reality. She asks manager Kim if he honestly thinks such a crazy plan is even possible. But instead of panicking, manager Kim just smiles. To him, they are just motorcycles. In the end, this is trade. He says that in the past he sold hot tea under the Middle Eastern sun, which sounds like absolute genius or pure madness. Seeing such confidence, Kwon lowers his head in shame, admitting things got worse because of him. But Miji cuts him off. According to her, what Kwon did yesterday was actually pretty incredible. He did what everyone fantasizes about doing during their breaks. Kwon scratches his head, laughing awkwardly. Well, if I have anything, it is initiative. As soon as he smiles, Miji glares at him while laughing. Did you think that was a real compliment? Kwon instantly panics. No, I did not mean it like that. The guy folded so easily. Meanwhile, manager Kim watches them bicker before suddenly turning dead serious. He says neither of them should have gotten involved for him, since only he was supposed to face the punishment. But she disagrees, and trust me, you and I know the boss has no idea what terrible fate was waiting. Come along with me, she literally couldn't watch this anymore. At the same time, director Yi-jin's words about working together based on absolute trust echo in her mind. They are calling it Team Samjen, a ridiculous teenage-sounding name that actually makes me cringe so hard. It honestly sounds like a cheap Power Rangers knockoff funded entirely by unpaid miserable interns. Despite this absolute chaos, they are officially a team, though. Manager Kim clearly notices the pure regret written all over Mi's face. Then he suddenly turns to Kwon and thanks him, leaving both Kwon and Miji completely stunned by his words. Manager Kim quietly admits it has been forever since anyone stood up for him like that, and honestly, he never expected it to be Kwon. Hearing those words makes me feel incredibly guilty because, unlike the fearless Kwon, she just stood there. She failed to speak up back then, but the manager suddenly smiles shyly, revealing something totally unexpected. When he first heard that Kwon punched director Choi, he secretly felt a massive wave of satisfaction. It was an insane, reckless move that almost landed him in jail, but he's still grateful, even admitting that if things were going to end this badly, he would have punched Choi himself. Even MG is left speechless. But then, manager Kim drops the most critical question of all, desperately wanting to know if director Choi actually wet himself. MGI looks completely exhausted, while Kwon casually replies that next time, he will make sure it actually happens. Honestly, these two are just one lawsuit away from causing absolute chaotic destruction. Now pay attention to this as night falls. Director Yijin looks out at the city lights alone from her window. Whispering to herself, she admits she's incredibly curious to see how this legendary man is going to handle this massive mess. Meanwhile, Kwan's employee file sits right on her desk, resting next to an incredibly mysterious photograph. That photo is key. The next morning, Majid desperately dials company after company, begging for any available transport solution. But every single call ends exactly the same way, total rejection, because there are zero shipping routes left for them. As she hangs up yet another call, pure exhaustion washes over her face. Apparently, every delivery is fully booked for the next 6 months, and suddenly Mi realizes that Kwan's desk is completely empty. For the first time ever, she feels completely helpless, like they can't even take step one to fix this unfolding disaster. Meanwhile, the manager is left wondering where on earth Kwan vanished to after starting all this chaos. He called in saying he found a brand new way to ship the bikes, but first had to visit a very important place. A new way Mi looks totally baffled. In an industrial zone looking straight out of a true crime documentary, some guy laughs saying he didn't expect them back so soon. He looks practically moved to tears, and standing right there is Kwan right next to that blonde-haired biker. The blonde proudly brags that Kwan is the only wealthy lunatic he knows who is completely obsessed with motorbikes, so completely misinterpreting the entire situation. He excitedly asks if he is now the legendary Kwangho's right-hand man, but Kwan crushes his fantasy instantly. He tells him to stop begging for validation and just live his own life. Ouch, talk about emotional damage. Kwan explains he never once viewed him as a sidekick and only reached out because he genuinely needed his help. Hearing this, the blonde gets confused, but Kwan coldly adds that if he proves useless, he will drop him instantly. I know what you're thinking, but that somehow makes him happy. In his head, he just upgraded from a simple lackey to a trusted partner, introducing himself as Han Jung-gi. He swears absolute loyalty to back his boss from now on. Seriously, his imagination runs faster than Korean internet. Talking, they arrive at a sketchy abandoned workshop that practically screams a police raid is about to happen. Kwan looks around skeptical about buying bikes from this literal junkyard. But Han promises him, this is the right place. Apparently they buy literally anything in bulk, but as they step inside, the atmosphere turns incredibly tense and dangerous. The warehouse is packed with sketchy men who look like they have committed tax fraud in at least 3 countries. A few guys are pouring a highly suspicious liquid into massive steel barrels. Honestly, it looks less like a legitimate business and more like a spot for dissolving bodies in acid. Everyone glares at them with absolute pure hostility, until the big boss appears eating cheap curry like some low-budget mobster. And that's where we leave it today. He grins and tells them to show him what they brought. All right, let's jump right into this. Kwan whispers to Han, asking who these sketchy Interpol-looking guys actually are. Han awkwardly admits he has no clue. Apparently some sketchy used car dealers set up the meeting. He only knows they buy things. The second Kwan hears that, his anxiety instantly goes through the roof. Then he quietly asks the obvious question. If they buy the bikes, who exactly are they selling them to? Han calmly replies it is probably undocumented people or underage kids. Apparently, people chasing the Korean dream need no questions asked rides, and he even mentions teenagers riding around without license plates. Hearing this makes Kwan break into a cold sweat. You are completely insane. Why are you just telling me this now? Before they can continue, the boss interrupts, asking what they are laughing about. Han quickly changes the subject to close the deal. But when he mentions selling 500 motorcycles, the room goes dead silent. The boss immediately bursts out laughing. He says they will gladly buy them all. Business thrives when the economy tanks, since kids today hate responsibilities. Laughing like an absolute maniac. He adds that everyone needs an obligation-free escape, and if they need a getaway, he will provide it cheap. Han panics, saying, no thanks, I already take vitamins. The guy literally thought the old man was hitting on him. Now pay attention here. Suddenly, Kwan stands up and announces they are leaving everyone completely baffled. Then Kwan calmly says they are not selling the bikes. Han almost chokes, asking what on earth he means. Wasn't this the plan? But Kwan firmly replies they cannot sell bikes, knowing they will facilitate future crimes. Samjin Trading does not work with criminal organizations. The moment the word crime is mentioned, the boss's expression completely shifts. But Kwan keeps speaking totally fearless. He refuses to let them disrespect the company. Han desperately pulls him aside, begging him to reconsider. After all his hard work setting this up, Kwan just backs out. Plus, even exports can be used for illegal stuff. Han begs him to think twice because if this deal falls through, they will be out of options. But before Kwan can respond, the boss cuts in saying, "That is business." Suddenly, the room grows tense. Have you not heard that time is money? The vibe shifts instantly. The boss asks how they plan to pay him back for wasting his precious time, then orders his men to gear up. Sensing danger, Kwan suggests they all stay calm, call it even, and walk away in peace. Who knows, maybe they will do better business together someday. Now here's what you and I have been waiting for. The men surround them, things get ugly, and Han steps up. "Leave this to your big bro. I am going to teach them a lesson in their own language." Then he points at Kwan and hypes him up like a wrestling announcer. "Do you idiots even know who my boss is?" Meet the legendary Kwan Seung-ho, the absolute beast, who single-handedly crushed the National United Alliance. But before he can finish, a voice echoes from behind. "Why won't this scooter start? Come on, turn over already." Han freezes and slowly turns around, only to find Kwan has bolted and is trying to start a scooter near the door. Han stares at him, completely betrayed. "What on earth are you doing?" From outside, Kwan reminds him he is just a regular salaryman on the clock. He came to sell inventory, not collect assault charges like Pokemon cards. If Han doesn't hurry up, he is leaving without him. Hearing that, Han's soul almost leaves his body as the gangsters charge. The boss screams to finish them off. Han starts sprinting for his life, yelling that he is coming too. While they escape, Han asks the million-dollar question. If they aren't selling the bikes, what now? Without hesitating, Kwan says they are riding them. Suddenly, he brakes, spins around, and walks straight toward the mobsters. Even Han is shocked. Meanwhile, the boss's thugs attack with pipes and fists, but none of that matters. Quinn effortlessly dodges every single blow while walking forward completely unfazed. The boss places his hand on a bike, smugly smiling, as he says a merchant never leaves his goods behind. But suddenly Kwan's voice cuts in, telling him not to touch it. The boss barely has time to turn before, boom, a flying kick straight to the face for dirtying it. And that is how we wrap this up. What a wild ending. Everyone freezes and Han looks traumatized. Stick with me here because Kwan notices fingerprints on the bike. As he calmly wipes it down, he casually says they're even for dirtying his ride. This guy values hygiene way more than human life. Next, Han rides the bike with Kwan on back. Kwan calls him out for trying to ditch him and escape alone. Han instantly denies everything. Supposedly, he is loyal to the death. Right, buddy? Your survival instinct was just way louder. In the end, Kwan asks the ultimate question. What are they even going to do with these bikes now? Han sheepishly admits they should have sold them. Hearing that, Kwan immediately regrets bringing him along. But suddenly Han bursts out laughing and confesses it was all just a joke. Turns out, he skipped work hoping to get a cut of the deal. Right then, a delivery guy zooms past at high speed. Both of them are stunned. Watch closely here as Han looks at the bikes and sees pure dollar signs. Suddenly, he asks to get back to work. Kwan asks what he does to pull in such crazy money. Han answers that he does deliveries, leaving Kwan in absolute utter shock. What kind of deliveries pay that much? Han respectfully explains the brutal real-world facts to him. With their skills, they could easily make over 10 million won a month delivering. Hearing that number, Kwan is completely floored. 10 million won. He spent years crushing gangs only to find out food delivery was the ultimate boss. Cutting to a new scene. At Samjin, trading manager Kim and Miji desperately search for options while director Yi Jin listens in complete silence. Manager Kim explains they are running out of options and nothing is working. The domestic market is totally saturated and global shipping routes are fully booked for almost the entire year. Manager Kim admits that moving the bikes themselves is their only realistic option right now. Miji suggests that maybe they should try negotiating with director Choi one more time. Before they can, the door flies open. We are back as Kwan casually walks in and sits at his desk. The second Miji looks at his face, she instantly knows things must have gone horribly wrong. Honestly, you cannot solve everything just by beating up directors. Jin asks him straight out if there really is no other way. The office falls silent, but Kwan calmly suggests they just use them. Everyone stares at him in sheer confusion. Instead of selling, they should use them. Here's where it all clicks for us, as Kwan remembers those food deliveries. Apparently, delivery sector revenues exceed a massive 4 trillion won every single year. Agencies alone generate a staggering 1.5 trillion won annually. It rivals massive companies like Naver Webtoon, with half the agencies packed tight between Seoul and Incheon. During peak hours, there are literally more delivery bikes than actual cars crowding the streets. Holding his helmet tight, Kwon declares they will not just make 1 billion won, but 10 billion. Manager Kim warns him starting a brand new business overnight is insane. Miji immediately calls him out too. This is not some child's play, is it even a real plan? But he clarifies he is completely serious. He already analyzed global trends and even met people who can run operations. Then he reminds Jin of something critical. She was the very person who asked them to give it their all until the final second. With a confident smirk, Kwon says they are just getting started. Later, director Yi Jin reflects alone by the window. Lights reflect off her glasses as her brilliant mind starts putting the pieces together like a corporate detective. She quietly notes that despite Cho Sojin's aggressive nature, he is a calculated businessman who tracks every single one lost. So why would he actively make an enemy out of us, even if it costs him personally? Suddenly, she remembers a key detail. Ever since Chairman Choi collapsed, the top spot at Mujin Shipping has been vacant. For someone like Cho Sojin, becoming the undeniable successor requires bringing home immediate, massive results. The exact kind of results that would leave those stubborn old shareholders totally speechless. This means someone promised him something much bigger for sabotaging Samjin Trading. Only one type of person could offer that. An insider incredibly powerful who desperately truly wants to see Yijin fail. Meanwhile, follow me to this next scene where a mysterious man is on the phone. On the other end, a cold voice asks if everything is fine as the lady is getting impatient. Trust me on this one, he calmly smirks and promises that the long-awaited news is coming very soon. A dam that can't stop a tiny leak doesn't deserve to exist. Meanwhile, Yijin suspiciously narrows her eyes. No matter what, this project has to be an absolute success. Next, Kwon stares at the person standing before him. Who even are you? Of course, it's our favorite blonde biker, the most loyal, unemployed guy in the world. He immediately stands tall and proudly introduces himself as the independent consultant Han Bong, making a very dramatic pause. His English name is Han Crime, talk about a video game villain nickname. We will definitely just call him Han. Kwon stares in silence. They haven't known each other long, but talking to him made Kwon realize something crucial. He is way more useful than expected, and his skills could give our company a massive, much-needed boost. Hearing that, Han's eyes sparkle with excitement at being useful to the boss. Kwon places a reassuring hand on his shoulder. He orders him to report to the office tomorrow as a delivery consultant dressed formally, so nobody dares look down on him. Han bows with deep respect. Next, we are at the Samjin Company. The employees suddenly stare down the hallway in absolute disbelief. Someone is approaching, and judging by their shocked faces, this isn't a normal consultant, but a dangerous mafia boss. Everyone is waiting in the room, but pay attention here, Kwon confidently promises they're in for a massive surprise. Mai gets anxious from all the hype. Manager Kim adds that they will soon see if he is a genius or a disappointment. Kwon smiles, absolutely sure he won't fail. Yijin asks about the mysterious consultant when a knock sounds at the door. Kwon smiles, knowing he is finally here. He heads over to the door to formally introduce their brand new delivery consultant, Mr. Han Yong-gi. He swings the door open and freezes instantly. Han looks exactly like a dangerous gangster straight out of a movie. A slick black suit, a gold chain, and a wild hairstyle that practically screams he collects dangerous debts for a living. Kwon looks like his soul left his body, while Manager Kim looks ready to have a heart attack. Meanwhile, Han proudly bows to introduce himself as the specialized delivery consultant Han Bongi, though he quickly corrects his mistake. He calls himself Han Crime without any shame. Instantly, an embarrassed Kwon grabs him tightly by his suit lapels. He furiously asks why he dressed like a gangster instead of wearing something normal, but the man seems completely confused. He argues he just wanted to not be looked down on. Kwon completely loses his mind, calling him an idiot. Before things escalate, a cold voice cuts in. You and I can definitely feel the tension radiating from director Yijin. She glares at Han and asks who he is. A terrified Kwon quickly stammers that this is their promised consultant. Han waits awkwardly outside, while everyone in the meeting room scolds Kwon for making such a terrible, ridiculous choice. Yijin rubs her forehead. She wanted a consultant, not a loan shark. How could you bring someone like that to such a critical project? Kwon desperately tries to defend himself. He insists that, ridiculous clothes aside, he is a true professional. He begs them to listen, but the manager looks disappointed. Mai complains right away, saying she already has too much work to deal with extra unnecessary problems. Meanwhile, Yijin stays silent, completely drained by this situation. Her stress level is peak corporate drama material. Suddenly, she orders them to let him in, shocking everyone. She explains that keeping him waiting outside is just plain rude. Besides, if Kwon recommended him, there must be a good reason. She asks them to prepare the meeting materials for their guest. Everyone goes silent. She is definitely the smartest person here. Next, they all sit down together at the table. Han tries to act normal, so he does not look like a thug. Yijin politely asks if she can use his real name. He nods immediately, and the meeting officially gets underway. Mai explains the business structure, overall costs, regional demand, local competitors, and the motorcycle leasing models. Using Samjin's existing bikes for rental is ideal. Since delivery work is accessible, hiring staff should be relatively easy. But Han suddenly interrupts. That part will actually be the hardest of all. Mai asks him why, and he begins to explain his reasoning. While another driver, a single dad, manages to make 7 deliveries. In this line of work, mindset is everything. You and I both know finding committed delivery drivers is the real challenge. All right, you and I are about to watch these chaotic streets get taken over by wild delivery riders. They blow past red lights, fight with clients, and even swipe food if they're hungry. Traffic laws, purely optional side quests. Han explains that when accidents happen, both the riders and the agencies just shrug it off, telling victims to sue them. Apparently, that is their toxic work culture. Now, an agency called Samjin wants to take control of this unpredictable crowd. The whole team listens in absolute silence. Meanwhile, the scene abruptly shifts. A wealthy man elegantly raises a glass talking about mutual benefits and sharing one single heart, moving forward together. Apparently, he genuinely believes that cliché phrase describes their current business partnership to a T. Meet Han Xiang, the director of Samjin Trading, and sitting right across from him is Director Choi. Director Han asks if he agrees. Choi calmly sips his drink, smirks, and points out that people absolutely despise that cheesy talk. Besides, it is pretty uncomfortable sticking your nose into other families' petty drama, obviously referencing that massive office incident. Director Han just smiles, praising Choi's truly impressive performance earlier. Now pay attention here, Choi just shrugs it off, but he played his part exactly as promised. Director Han calmly explains that they will cover every single penny lost from those delayed shipments. And Samjin Trading's sales team gets exclusive logistics rights this year. Hearing this, Choi lets out a wicked smirk. You will secure those contracts, even if Baek Hye-jin ends up ruined and cast aside. She is still royal blood after all. Director Han chuckles softly. Tell me, Director Choi, do you have any idea how many bakes actually work at Samjin? I'm just another employee. That is it. This company cares about tomorrow's performance, not the pedigree of yesterday. The two men clink their glasses in a toast. Director Han smiles warmly. With this, the power balance at Mujin Shipping will tip in your favor. But Choi disagrees. Not yet, I still need your help. Han remembers something amusing. Apparently, Baek Hye-jin formed a team to turn abandoned motorcycles into a brand new delivery startup. And it seems that Mujin Shipping was also eyeing this delivery market. Hearing that, Choi pauses for a second before bursting into laughter. Just owning bikes means absolutely nothing in this game. Now back to reality. Han writes on the chalkboard, explaining with absolute seriousness that while deliveries look simple on the outside, it is a total madhouse. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, it is a massive circus where total outlaws dominate the streets. Han details bitter rivalries, brutal turf wars, and the relentless bullying targeted at newcomers. Apparently, hazing startups is an industry tradition. Meanwhile, Choi mocks their efforts even more. Do they think hiring riders is easy? They recruit minors and unlicensed fools just to keep afloat. Even if they find staff can Baek Hye-jin actually manage them. This is no place for corporate suits. Han tells his own team the exact same thing. In this business, you only survive by fighting through raw street chaos. Surprisingly, Yin drinks in every single word with total focus. Han delivers his quiet final verdict. Kwan can pull this off. Cut to the next scene, a massive crowd gathers outside. A few are already complaining impatiently. If you called us out here for this, hurry the hell up. Another guy admits he only came because he blew all his cash on sports betting yesterday. Truly a model citizen. Standing right in front of this rowdy crowd are Kwan and Han. Han nervously asks when they will begin. Turns out Han spent the whole night calling everyone he knew. In a flashback, Kwan grabs Han's shoulder, asking him to gather a crowd for tomorrow. Friends, strangers, it did not matter. Was anyone willing to work? Han was shocked since it was so late. But the moment Kwan called him his right-hand man, the guy was deeply moved. He instantly saluted, promising to drag out even his aunt's cousin's 8th cousin if he had to. Back in the present day, Kwan grabs the megaphone and begins shouting. All right, listen up, everyone. First off, thanks for showing up so early. Suddenly, a bald guy yells at the one thing they actually care about. Skip that. Is it true we get free bikes for delivering here? Kwan smirks. It is absolutely true. Anyone hired by Samjin gets a motorcycle with zero rental fees. Immediately, the whole crowd erupts in cheers. For delivery riders, bike rental is their biggest burden. Hearing free motorcycle sounds sexier than a lingerie commercial. Everyone mutters in excitement. But trust me, a major concern is about to hit them. All right, you and I are diving into a wild business war. Just look at these two crazy rules he sets for free bikes. First, a legal driver license. Second, passing a brutally difficult and complicated interview. Everyone is totally confused, but as they ask what it is, Quan calmly walks straight to the table. He sits down, rolls up his sleeves, plants his elbow on the wood, and says, "Arm wrestling." As Quan announces the arm wrestling test, the crowd completely loses their minds. Everyone screams an arm wrestle. If we win, the bike is free. Suddenly, absolute chaos erupts everywhere. People rush the table like a desperate clearance sale. "Me first, move out of the way." "No, I was here first." Honestly, these guys are fighting harder for a free bike than some parents fight for child custody. Meanwhile, in the distance, a motorcycle slowly pulls up. The rider takes off his helmet, instantly changing the vibe. This guy is massive, covered in tattoos from head to toe. He looks fresh out of prison on violent parole. He glares at the crowd with pure disgust and mocks them. What kind of free rental joke is this? What circus did you build? He cracks his neck and mutters perfect timing. It is about time I teach some annoying delivery drivers another lesson. He smiles coldly. Now watch closely here, because he is going to find the idiot who dared invade his territory. Meanwhile, Han desperately tries to manage the crowd. All right, stop pushing. Form a single line one by one. Suddenly, he spots the massive tattooed thug cutting the line without a care. Han immediately points him to the back. "Hey, big guy, no cutting." But the giant completely ignores him and walks past. Han warns him again, visibly sweating. "Hey, I said get in line." Suddenly, the giant stops right in front of his face. Han breaks into a cold sweat as his survival instincts kick in, but before he can react, the giant shoves him hard. Meanwhile, Quan does not even blink. Honestly, to him, this is just a typical Tuesday at the office. Quen asks calmly, "What are you doing?" Han immediately panics and cries out, "Boss!" But before anyone can answer, the thug looms over Quan, revealing a face of absolute nightmare. He glares down and growls, "So you are the punk running this circus." Quan coolly replies here for the interview. The tattooed guy sneers, "What a bold move. No wonder comedy shows are going bankrupt." The terrified crowd whispers, "That is Huang. Why is he here? I actually canceled my yacha order to watch this." The feared Huang has arrived, and you and I both know he is definitely not famous for playing nice. Suddenly, Huang grabs Quan by his suit and lifts him easily. "Think you can steal my drivers with this cheap circus? You have no clue how this industry works." He smirks. "Want me to help you out with the interview?" Far from scared, Quan smiles calmly. "I know exactly who you are, Mr. Huang." That completely throws Huang off. Then Quan recites his entire criminal record like he is reading a wiki page. 24 years old, former SAREM team captain banned for life after brutally beating a rookie over illegal gambling. Left him hospitalized for 18 weeks. And now you run Yacha. Hearing this, the crowd falls completely silent. Seeing that he knows so much, Hung smiles with amusement. "Not bad, you really did your homework." Then his face goes cold if you know that stop this nonsense and leave before you end up under the pavement. In the background, Han is dying of anxiety, boss. "Are you absolutely sure about what you are doing?" In a flashback to yesterday, Han was desperately warning him, "You cannot mess with Wong." But Quan calmly asked, "Did you not say he is the most influential?" Han screamed, "That is exactly why I say no." That mad bull does not care about rank or age. But Quan smiled, "Perfect, then we absolutely need him." Then he placed a hand on Han's shoulder. "My future right-hand man, if there is one thing that never changes, no matter how the world does, what is it, back to the present?" Quan stares directly at Huang. "If you are so confident, how about a wager on an arm wrestle?" Huang is totally baffled. Setting up the chairs, he says, "If you win, we lend all our bikes to your agency for free." The crowd goes wild. With such an unbelievable offer, everyone was left completely speechless. But Quan adds, "And if I win, you will work as a delivery driver for Samjin Trading." He smirks. "Of course, if you are scared, we can stop here." That hit Huang's massive pride hard. Annoyed, he sits down to compete. "Keep your word, rich boy, because trust me, things are about to get incredibly wild." "All right, let's watch this together." Quan sits calmly right opposite him, remembering a verbal deal is still a binding contract. The arm wrestling match starts, and Hang immediately unleashes his full power. Popping veins, shaking muscles, and a bright red face. Meanwhile, Quan literally yawns. This guy looks more bored than a husband dragged to IKEA. Hang is in total disbelief. Who on earth is this guy? But then, we spot a very crucial detail. The waistband on Huang's underwear. Calvin Klein. Yes. He might be a violent psychopath, but at least his undergarments are sponsored with premium style. Meanwhile, Huang pushes with absolute brute force. I can't even budge him. I've never lost a test of pure strength. If I lose here... Suddenly, Quan speaks to him with total composure, barely using any effort. You will be a laughingstock if rumors spread that a basic office worker beat you right before your men. The crowd whispers that they have been like this for 5 minutes. They think Huang is just playing around. Then Quan quietly says it is time to wrap up, because people are waiting. Hang roars in pure rage. Pay close attention to this. Quan presses down just a fraction, and Hang's arm instantly begins to give way. Everyone freezes. The massive tattooed giant is actually losing, but right before hitting the table, his hand stops dead. Huang looks completely shell-shocked, because this is the first time he's felt Quan's true power. That face says it all. If word gets out you lost to an office clerk, your bully pride is completely ruined. Huang screams furiously that this is just a silly arm wrestle. I don't have to keep dumb promises. But Quan instantly cuts him off, reminding him he was already warned. A verbal agreement is a deal. And slowly he begins to apply that crushing force all over again. What happens if you break a deal? Then he smiles. Those paper pushers you look down on so much. 1 in 100 was the strongest in class. 1 in 1,000 ruled the entire school. His smile gets terrifying. And 1 in 100,000, what do you think they become? The pressure on his hand increases again. Snap, Huang starts panicking. Go ahead, break your promise, but I will slam you into the ground every night. I know exactly what you're thinking. That sounds incredibly sus without context. Hang breaks into a cold sweat asking what to do. The moment he says that, Quan smiles. Simple, and out of nowhere, he unleashes his entire strength. Slam. Huang wins. Everyone celebrates wildly, but he is totally confused, realizing the guy actually let him win. Is it true, Mr. Hang? I know that was a hard choice. Thank you. Huang looks up and finally sees Quan's face clearly. A pure demonic grin. He didn't look like a businessman, but rather Satan himself, wearing a sharp office suit. Then Quan raises Huang's hand high in the air, declaring him the champion of the contest. Regardless of the final outcome, choosing Sam Jin Trading means you will give your entire life to this new job. Then he whispers in his ear to smile if he gets the message. It is a beautiful day, right? Huang completely panics, thinking he got caught by a total lunatic. Meanwhile, the crowd totally misinterprets the whole situation. Seeing Huang join Samjin Trading, everyone else decides to sign up as well. The sign-up booth explodes, and just like that, Quan recruits the strongest delivery driver through sheer psychological warfare. Next scene at the warehouse. Manager Kim and Miji are going over the motorcycle inventory. MJI runs in super excited, announcing that Manager Quan did it and brought recruits. Kim is left in absolute shock. Really? Then he looks at Miji, hoping everything went smoothly. The girl nods her head in agreement. She was worried too, but thankfully nothing bad happened. Just then, another employee arrives, carrying some paperwork. He hands a file to the manager, confirming all the bikes arrived safely. Kim smiles with relief. Thanks, Leader Choi. And yes, it is another different Choi, because apparently Korea only has about 6 generic recurring surnames. Afterwards, Leader Choi starts showing them around the massive warehouse facility. Kim admits he didn't know where to put so many bikes, but thanks to Leader Choi, a huge burden is lifted. The leader smiles warmly, mentioning that they should always support each other during tough times. He mentions Team 1 gets their panels next month, so if they clear the warehouse before, then they are golden. Kim smiles gratefully. The timeline is extremely tight, but we still have to appreciate the help. Choi leaves, telling them to keep working hard. MGE watches him go and suddenly asks the manager if they will really be okay. She looks at the endless sea of bikes. And trust me, a month feels like a completely impossible deadline to meet. Stick with me here, because launching a business that usually takes months was rushed together in sheer panic, showing how desperate things are. Manager Kim silently takes off his glasses. Director Yijin was already on thin ice, and after losing the Mujin deal, everything went downhill. Cleaning his lenses, he mentions the executive performance evaluation is coming up. If this project fails and Director Yin cannot show results, she won't convince the board. And if they fail to deliver this time, Director Becky Jin is in serious trouble. Right then we see Yi Jin entering the elevator. The doors start closing, but a hand stops them. They slide open to reveal Director Han, wearing his trademark snake smile. Well, look who we have here. Our calm Director Bei greets him politely. It has been a while, Director Han. They ride up together. Director Han brings up Sales Team 3's brand new delivery project. Apparently, they want to turn failed export motorcycles into a business. If anyone can do it, it is you, he sneers. Yin smiles politely. No matter how hard I try, I could never compare to Team 1, especially Manager Park. They say he is just like you, ruthless and efficient. If the results are good, the process does not matter. Now watch this part closely because here's where Yi Jin drops one final savage line for leaving. Your annual evaluation must already be secured. But for me, if I fail on the front line, I will ruin myself. Still, she gives him a remarkably calm side eye. But seeing someone of your age struggle so hard is truly inspiring. It motivates me. She leaves and Han completely freezes. In the next scene, Manager Park meets up with Han. He investigated Yi Jin's project as ordered and confirms they are already struggling with storage. They secured a temporary warehouse, but once their own insulation panels arrive next month, the Samjin motorcycles will have absolutely nowhere to go. While serving food, Park boasts that not even Chairman Baek could build a business in a month. Yi Jin will fail. Han laughs. We will do nothing. She will destroy herself, he says with a warm smile. I am truly blessed with my people. Specifically, having someone like you serving under me. Park beams at his boss's praise, but suddenly Han asks him a very strange question. Do you know why I keep you around? Park looks totally confused. Han smiles calmly. Because you are like a pufferfish, delicious but packed with deadly venom inside. Then his face drops, but lately you seem more like pufferfish soup with all of the poison drained out. You and I both felt that burn it completely crushed his spirit. Manager Park instantly apologizes and promises to do much better. Those insulation panels are scheduled to arrive next month. Is there any reason to wait so long? He takes another bite. It would be much better if the products arrive early. And just like that, a terrifying truth is revealed. Director Han won't just wait for Yin's project to fail on its own. Clearly, he's about to speed up the sabotage with his own two hands. The fact that Kwon recruited so many writers shocks everyone. Manager Kim is incredibly impressed. The man looks ready to give a motivational speech hugging Kwon deeply. Then he proudly claims they accomplished something huge. Kwon scratches his head awkwardly and smiles. It was just luck, manager. But Mi instantly calls him out on that lie. Even with luck, this makes absolutely no sense. Meanwhile, Han sits nearby looking way too pleased with himself. This is why office workers need field experience. If you had seen Boss One in action, you would never doubt him. Han passionately starts recreating the scene. He stood before hundreds of people and basically said he would take them all on. Step right up, but before he can leak Kwan's secret files any further, Kwan quickly covers his mouth. MGA quickly changes the subject to ask the one truly important question. You made sure none of those writers have any major red flags, right? Quan explains they already assigned human resources managers and set up ethics training to prevent any issues with the writers. Meanwhile, Han is slowly suffocating because Quan is still gagging him like a hostage witness. The bikes have arrived at Samjin, and you and I know the chaos is just beginning. All right, you and I are jumping into a story where time is running out. They only have 1 month. Still, they are preparing everything meticulously to start strong, but things rarely go smoothly when Boss Quan is around. At this rate, there should be no issues and then sudden silence. Everyone suddenly gives him a bizarre look. Even Quan slowly turns as if saying, Brother, why did you say that out loud? Han looks totally lost. Why is everyone staring at me? Then Mi explains with a chilling, terrifying seriousness. Mr. Han, do you realize you just uttered the forbidden phrase, Han blinks? The what MG explains every single profession has cursed words, from nurses and kitchen staff to office workers and retailers. Saying everything is going perfect is like summoning the devil himself. Right then, Manager Kim gets a sudden phone call. The moment he answers, his face completely drops. Where is this coming from so suddenly? Now pay attention here. The caller says something that makes Manager Kim almost scream in pure shock. We must empty the warehouse immediately. Cut to another scene where Leader Choi is apologizing profusely over the phone. Apparently, Team 1's shipment, scheduled for next month, is arriving next week. The poor guy was sabotaged at maximum speed. Leader Choi clarifies he was barely notified. There was absolutely nothing he could have done about it. Manager Kim says he understands, calmly hangs up and looks at Yin. Team 1 pushed up their entire shipment. If it's from them, Yijin figures it out instantly. Director Han. Then he smiles with ice-cold eyes. So that is his little game. In the next scene, Mi desperately calls every single warehouse she can find. At this rate, one more rejection and she will sue for emotional damage. Even an empty factory plot would work. Absolutely nothing is available. It turns out that because of Black Friday season, all warehouses are completely packed. The perfect recipe for a total nightmare. Hanging up MG looks exhausted. Finding another warehouse in a week is impossible. She looks at Kwan asking if he found anything, but Kwan only shakes his head in heavy silence. Nothing on my end either. Mi finally has a mental breakdown. This was an impossible task from the start. Building a delivery business with leftover motorcycles was ridiculous. And now on top of that, they're sabotaging us openly. There is no way this works. But then Quan calmly says something totally unexpected. Maybe that is exactly why we can succeed. I know what you're thinking. This kid is way too confident looking for answers in the impossible. He then smiles slightly. Loyal to the group motto, if we do not yield to crisis, the reward will be massive. Those words deeply surprise Minji. She stares at him with suspicion. Wow, where did you steal that phrase from? Quan scratches his neck. Embarrassed. An old friend always used to say it. It stuck with me from hearing it so much. But Mji immediately gets annoyed again. I did not mean that. I mean, you are lecturing your superior. Quan panics while she glances over at Manager Kim's empty office chair. Besides, I have not given up yet either because we still have our beloved manager. Next scene, we see Manager Kim wearing work clothes helping load heavy boxes by hand. Yes, the man left his cozy office to run a side quest as a warehouse laborer. An employee begs him to stop because it makes them feel guilty, but Kim calmly insists on helping finish the final stretch. Another worker approaches with cans of coffee. Wow, the foreman finally has good taste. Since when do you buy lattes instead of bitter Americanos? The foreman quickly clarifies it was not his idea. Manager Kim bought them for everyone. And apparently, while desperately searching for a free warehouse, he hands out coffee in person with total humility. Seriously, this man is too pure for corporate warfare. Another worker praises Kim's speed, saying he has real talent. Once you learn manual labor, you never forget it. He reminds them that even the foreman praised his loading skills in the past. Meanwhile, the employee with the coffee stares at him with intense focus. Something in his expression shifts. Finishing up, Kim thanks everyone and asks them to let him know if any space opens up. The foreman happily nods. As Kim begins to leave, the coffee guy suddenly stops him. I heard you are looking for a warehouse, he says. He then mentions a textile company with delayed shipments, meaning their warehouse might actually be vacant for now. Hearing that, Kim's eyes widen in absolute shock. He immediately offers his most sincere thanks to the worker, and we are left here dying to see what happens next. Let us dive into this scene where this worker raises his coffee can and thanks scoring major intel through simple caffeine diplomacy. Cut to the warehouse, where Manager Kim waits patiently, while Kwon Miji and Han rush inside at full speed. Manager Kim tells them to chill out, but Kwon eagerly asks how they could sit still after hearing about the warehouse. Even Miji looks hopeful, asking if he talked to the owner. Kim explains he is waiting to meet him, but right then a cold voice suddenly echoes behind them. Well, look at this. Everyone spins around and their faces instantly drop. Manager Park, that snake-faced corporate parasite, approaches holding a stack of documents. Is not this Manager Kim's little team? Your reaction was pretty slow. Meanwhile, Manager Kim looks completely baffled. Manager Park calmly raises his contract folder, asking why else he would be here if not to sign for the warehouse. Miji loses it the moment she hears that, demanding how they could steal another warehouse. But he just smiles shamelessly. Mujin Shipping simply asked us to handle some extra cargo, that is all. Then his eyes suddenly turn icy. Pay close attention to this hypocrisy. You would think they are enemies, but they work for the exact same company. He looks coldly at Manager Kim, suggesting he should train his staff better, wondering where they learned such a terrible attitude. Manager Kim answers with total composure, but Manager Park just shrugs, calling the whole situation incredibly pathetic. Then he starts preaching like some toxic corporate guru on LinkedIn. A true businessman knows how to choose the right ladder early on. After all, we are just clowns performing tricks, but the ones climbing the tallest ladder always look far better. Then he flashes a chilling smirk. And if your ladder's about to snap, jumping ship is an art form. Gosh, this guy definitely dreams about corporate ladders. Next up, Park proudly reports to Director Han that the warehouse contract is officially locked down. Delivery is scheduled a week early. A total win. Director Han smiles with satisfaction. That is the Manager Park I know. He thanks him, adding that since the Baekjin issue was settled, he finally sees the big picture. It seems his old mindset was far too narrow. But before he can even finish, Director Han cuts him off. To avoid any backlash down the road, we need to lay the groundwork now. Suddenly, a subtle grin appears. Mujin Shipping. You are more emotional than I expected. Meanwhile, Manager Park showers Sam Jin Trading with passionate praise. But Director Han slowly taps the nameplate on his desk, bringing up a chilling thought. Funny, because I think he would be much busier at Sam Jin Construction. Manager Park freezes on the spot. You and I both know his cozy job just entered the danger zone. He bows immediately to apologize, claiming he still has much to learn, while Director Han places a smiling hand on his shoulder. You truly are a natural-born actor. Then he presses down, telling him to remember one rule to reach great heights. Sometimes we must silence the minor noises and press forward. Yep, this guy is absolute malice wrapped in a fancy suit. Back in the office, Miji explodes with raw frustration, wondering how coworkers from the very same company could stab them in the back. It makes no sense. Meanwhile, Quan silently starts blaming himself. If only I had not interfered, would things be different? Before his guilt spiral deepens. Yi-jin speaks up calmly. She asks them to lift their heads, revealing a shocker. She is actually the daughter of Sam Jin Group Chairman Baek Jin. Park is actually working for her stepmother, Jang Wee, the chairman's second wife. Their goal is clear block Yi-jin from building any power at Sam Jin. The entire office is completely stunned. Yi-jin explains that Mujin Shipping was never going to agree to their proposed rate hike anyway. Director Han promised them a massive deal in exchange for locking down all motorcycle exports. Manager Kim mentions their long-standing history with President Choi, but Yi-jin just shakes her head. For Choi Han's offer was simply too good. The Mujin Shipping Board is testing him to see if he can inherit control. He will resort to absolutely anything to prove his value. High profits and quick results are the only things that count. Meanwhile, Han wonders aloud if all corporations are this childish. They say you should keep your dirty family laundry behind closed doors. Yet these grown adults are fighting like divorced parents over custody. Manager Kim and Miji instantly yell at him to shut up. Would you please shut your mouth? But Han totally ignores them. I wanted to trade my bikes for an office gig, but you and I just saw this corporate world is incredibly dirty. All right, pay attention here, because a single sentence hits Quan like lightning. He looks at Han. What did you say, Han blinks? That this place is dirty. Quan shakes his head. No, before that. Han nervously thinks about how he was going to sell his bikes. Suddenly, Quan stands up. Why don't we try this? Everyone looks at him completely confused, while a smirk slowly spreads across his face. If we trace this entire mess all the way back to the very beginning, everything boils down to one simple thing. The motorcycles became dead stock because their export route got blocked. In other words, we just need someone willing to buy them up. Mai immediately points out the obvious. That is literally the issue. Nobody wants to buy hundreds of bikes at their original retail price. But Quan's smile only grows. Exactly, if we are only talking about selling bikes. Suddenly, Yin's eyes open wide in shock. Don't tell me. Quan nods. You guessed it. We are selling them to yesterday's enemy who just became today's ally. Next scene, Black Mixed Martial Arts Gym. Director Choi is savagely beating a heavy bag like it owes him a ton of money. He suddenly stops. I could hear your whining from the other side of the room. A voice replies with total calm confidence. I see you still have the energy to hit the gym. And there is Quan looking around. Wow, looks like you have been training hard. Your punches are heavier, he smirks. Though they are still far from my toys. Director Choi bursts out laughing. So what are you doing here? Did you miss crawling between my legs? Quan snaps back instantly. Your jokes are still completely terrible. No wonder you don't have any friends. Director Choi gets annoyed instantly. You seriously have a talent for making people want to punch you. He cracks his neck. Look bored? Want me to keep you company? But watch closely because Quan calmly steps forward. I am bringing you a deal so juicy it will make your mouth water. Choi laughs. You are insane. All right, I admit your sense of humor is better than mine. Then he smirks with pure malice. But unfortunately, I'm already full, so unless it is incredibly appetizing, I won't bite. Quan rests his fist on the heavy bag. It is simpler than hitting bags and way more attractive. Director Choi looks confused. And then suddenly, boom! Quan punches the bag so hard it folds upwards, nearly tearing in half. Since when do heavy bags fly like that? Quain slowly smiles. Those bikes you blocked from exporting, buy them yourself. He drops the final bombshell with total calm. Those motorcycles, buy them. The moment he says those words, even Choi's men watching nearby are left completely shocked. Meanwhile, Director Choi bursts into a completely insane, unhinged laugh. You and I both know this guy sounds crazy. Wow, you are a total legend, he says, staring directly at Quan. So this grand proposal is basically just asking me to swallow your leftover warehouse inventory. Is every rookie at Sanjin this stupid, or do you just have rocks in your head? Quan calmly smiles. I am giving you priority. That should be tempting enough to send anyone straight to heaven. Is the idea starting to interest you? Choi's smirk completely vanishes. You really do not understand the kind of situation you are in, rookie. Do you think this is a joke? But Quan fires back fast. You are the clown acting like Han Zhang's loyal little lapdog. The atmosphere freezes. Choi's face twitches with violent rage. What did you just say to me? Then he throws his gloves down aggressively. You punk, I humored you for a second, and now you think you own the place. Do you want me to tear off your mouth and legs so you never speak like that again? Quan smirks confidently. I don't know. Can someone I already knocked out cold actually manage that? Talk about a direct hit to his ego. Then Quan calmly pulls out some documents. Anyway, enough playing games. Are you going to look at this or not? Are you sure it is poison and not your golden ticket? Next scene. Now both of them are sitting down inside a private office. Quan slides the paperwork across the table. What we are selling is not just bikes, but a joint venture between Samjun Trading and Mujun Shipping. The moment Choi reads the title, his face completely changes. Samjun Last Mile Integrated Logistics Service by Mujun. For those who might not know, last mile delivery refers to the final step where packages actually reach people's homes. Right when customers stop screaming, looking for their packages. Quan continues calmly. The 10 billion won worth of motorcycles is simply the cheapest entry fee. Mujin Shipping will be massive, but they still cannot reach people's doorsteps, right? We are going to solve that huge problem. As Choi keeps reading, his entire perspective shifts. This is not just some random, desperate proposal thrown together. Everything is structured like a legitimate launch plan. The hiring system is aggressive, but incredibly efficient. Most importantly, this business was not built to grow slowly. It was designed to conquer the market fast and dominate from day one. Suddenly, Choi recalls his father's words. Join me as we watch this memory of them eating together in absolute dead silence. Let's jump into the scene. President Choi warns that a company with only one path faces a dead end. During the 2020 crisis, Mujin Shipping suffered when sea routes collapsed. Then he stares directly at his son. If you only look at the ocean, you will end up isolated. You must move inland right away. Choi responds that big corporations already dominate shipping with no room left. But his father immediately snaps at him. You absolute idiot. Stop thinking only about moving giant cargo shipments. Whoever feeds on other people's laziness will dominate the next 10 years. Find the answer in final logistics. Back in the present, Choi quietly analyzes the proposal. From a purely business perspective, there are already plenty of reasons to get in. But he still sneers mockingly at Quan. You bring me this cheap plan and call it a business. I admit it looks good on paper. Then he leans back with total confidence. But have you seen the big picture? The delivery market is already completely oversaturated. Every region is packed with agencies. If you enter now at best, you will just fight for simple scraps. He slams the table. The real money comes when you monopolize the entire pie. What will you do with this? Did you build all this just to eat leftovers? His smile sharpens. In that dirty market, you only have the Sam Jin name. What advantage does that give you? Your capital systems or your precious hard work? Now pay close attention here. After hearing his plan is just paper, Quan smiles with that terrifying calm. Do you really think I came for leftovers? We are going after the blind spot. Nobody dares touch. We start there. Choi narrows his eyes, intrigued. What blind spot? But instead of answering, Quan naturally changes the subject. By the way, are you sure you want to waste time? I gave you priority, but you are not the only buyer. In a flashback, Quan plans everything with his team. He knows Choi will try to stall for time, even if interested. And even if he accepts, he will want to dominate the business deal. So while we talk to him, we negotiate with others. There is a massive difference between being able to buy anytime and knowing if you do not buy, now you lose it forever. Manager Kim calls his old contacts. I will contact Mijijang Transport. Mi joins in and will call Tyson Logistics. Meanwhile, Yin calmly orders everyone to start preparing immediately. Then she looks at Quan, and when you meet Director Choi, make sure to deliver a message from me. Quan looks at her. Yin's eyes turn cold. Tell him to think about what happens to a lonely robot stranded at sea. I know what you are thinking, but back in the present, Quan drops another bomb from Director Bijin. Director Han has already secured a future position at Samjin Construction. Hearing that, Choi's eyes widen in absolute shock, but Quan keeps talking without pausing. Do you believe someone with one foot out the door will keep his promises forever? If you doubt me, check it yourself, though it will take you time. The room goes quiet, and suddenly Choi starts laughing like a total maniac. You absolute lunatic. He furiously throws the papers at Quan, yelling, who the hell does he think he is threatening? Listen, kid, nice try, but you are far from shaking me. Then he smiles, with overflowing confidence on his face. Someone once told me business only works if the goals of both parties align. I do not see us working together. Quan stands up slowly and tells him to cling to Han's pants while he can. We flatly refuse to collaborate with a company that makes emotional decisions based purely on feelings. Director Choi explodes with rage, but Kwan is already walking away telling him the deal is off. Looking back one last time, he adds, if Choi changes his mind, he should come begging on his knees. Choi slams the table. What did you say, jerk? You are an employee. How dare you speak like that? You're the one who should work hard while you still can. Do you really think selling business is that easy? But Kwan ignores him and leaves calmly. Meanwhile, Director Choi is left trembling with rage, absolutely furious. He's on the verge of losing control completely. After this time, painfully flew by. Nobody let go of their phones for a second. Everyone was desperately searching for available warehouses without rest. If the calls failed, they went in person. Overtime became a daily routine. On-site meetings happened daily. Director Yijin, manager Kim Miji. Everyone lived on caffeine and pure stress. At some point, even me looked totally exhausted when leaving work late at night. And so we reach evaluation day. Trust me, what comes next will leave you completely frozen. Come along with me to this board meeting where Director Han is smugly checking his phone with total confidence. Manager Park already messaged him earlier. It seems the motorcycles are still trapped in an abandoned warehouse. Everything is completely paralyzed. Reading the text, Director Han smiles coldly, thinking about Yijin. I finally have you ruined. Suddenly, the boardroom doors swing open and a very confident man walks in. I see everyone arrived on time. It is President Park Taeyong. Everyone greets him respectfully before sitting down. The quarterly performance review officially begins. Director Han immediately steps up to take the floor. President, if I may, could I speak first? The leader nods his head, giving him the go-ahead. Han smiles politely, saying Sales Team 3 struggled quite a bit and the best teams should present last. So to ease the pressure, I propose that Director Baek Yi-jin present her report first. Pay attention to this part. He looks at Yi-jin with a smile that looks like a funeral, but Yi-jin calmly smiles. Thank you for the consideration. Let us do that. Then she rises with confidence. I am Baek Yi-jin, head of Sales Team 3. I will begin the inventory risk report after Mujin's cancellation. The president reviews the file. Losses of 1 billion won. The entire room immediately reacts in shock. Was not that the Sales Team 3 rookie's fault? Are we seriously losing this much over one employee? Han smiles victoriously. Everything is going according to plan, but she continues with absolute calm. We decide to completely withdraw the used motorcycle export operation. Hearing this, the executives criticize her immediately. So you are just going to accept the losses. How do you plan to handle this massive responsibility? All because of a rookie. But Yijin remains unfazed, responding that they're absolutely right. Before this project, those motorcycles were nothing more than unsellable inventory. And then she pauses. Until 3 weeks ago, the room falls silent. 3 weeks ago, she nods, saying they turned that dead asset into profits. Then she drops the bombshell. We secured a strategic agreement with a 10 billion won advance payment. Director Han's smug smile instantly vanishes from his face. You and I both know what he is thinking. Yeah, his brain completely froze. But Yi-jin keeps going. Projected revenues for this quarter will reach around 2 billion won. The entire room erupts in whispers at this deal. She sold off an entire business in record time. Director Han immediately interrupts, telling her not to exaggerate. I understand the pressure of this review is tough, but are you not exaggerating? He mocks her with a sneer. What kind of crazy company would sign something like this? Who exactly agreed to a deal like that? Yijin switches the projector screen and everyone freezes upon seeing the signed strategic alliance contract. Transfer of commercial rights with 70% of the shares. The room goes quiet, and Yijin glares at Han. As far as I know, you also had a pretty close relationship with Mujin Shipping, right? Yet it seems you did not see their moves coming this time. Hearing this, Director Han completely snaps. Director Choi switched sides. Yijin calmly continues with her presentation. To be precise, it is a conditional investment agreement to acquire up to 70% of the division. Hearing that, Director Han completely loses his cool. What the Mujin Shipping Company? He suddenly stands up yelling that it is impossible, questioning why Cho So-jin would ally with her. Are you telling me that bastard bet on a simple rookie like you? The entire room tenses up. Before he can continue, the president's cold voice rings out. Director Han, there are many eyes watching us. Please behave with the dignity of your position. What an absolute public humiliation. Corporate humiliation at its finest. Han shuts up while Yijin smiles calmly. Well, either I'm not an incompetent rookie or Director Choi is not crazy. One of those two. Besides, this meeting is not for criticizing processes, but for evaluating the actual results. With the investment commitment from Mujin Shipping as a guarantee, this project is fully secured. Hearing this, Director Han goes completely blank because the project is out of danger and already profitable. President Park calmly reviews the files and smiles. With this contract guaranteed, we accept the project's viability. And that is where we leave things. Trust me, next month is going to be absolutely wild. Prove those numbers with real deposits. I will be waiting eagerly. Let's watch how Director Baek Yin-eun smiles confidently, completely crushing Director Han's soul in this exact moment. A subordinate respectfully reports that the executive review for Samgen Trading has just wrapped up, and right by the window, smiling calmly, is Director Choi. Well, at least they did not have to hospitalize Han. He really needs to watch his blood pressure. Then he smirks with pure mockery. I bet his pressure will spike even more. His secretary cautiously asks why he suddenly switched sides at the very last minute. Was it because of that man you ordered me to investigate? Choi slowly turns around. Secretary Kim. Who do you think actually becomes the boss in this world? The secretary carefully ponders the question. Is it someone highly capable, or maybe with charisma, to make others follow? Choi instantly shakes his head. Wrong. Whether it is money, ambition, or sheer overwhelming force, the real boss is whoever makes everyone else kneel. Now watch closely as we look at Kwon Ho's school photo. He ruled a place packed with actual monsters. Shinhwa High School. Choi chuckles. That place? When it came to bad reputations, there was no worse school in Korea. It was not a school, it was a literal jungle. Then he lists examples. The king of illegal Gangnam rentals, illegal gambling server distributors operating all over Southeast Asia. Half the psychopaths dominating the Korean underworld came from Shinhwa. And in that school, only two types of people faced Kwon Ho. Those who took a beating and accepted reality, and those completely obsessed with taking his life. Secretary Kim looks genuinely disturbed. Was he really that dangerous? Choi slowly drops the photos onto the table. Yes, even wild beasts tamed down around him. Back then, Kwon Ho was not just strong, he was absolute order. Then he smiles. Sure, rumors get exaggerated, but you cannot help but wonder why a guy like that pretends to be a basic office worker. The secretary falls silent. Meanwhile, Choi's grin slowly grows wider. I know you're curious to see what happens when this monster finally starts controlling the board. Flashback to 3 weeks ago. The office is in absolute chaos and Mi looks ready to lose her mind. We are ordered to move all the bikes by tomorrow, and we do not even have shop space. What now? Meanwhile, Kwon Ho casually turns to Han. Hey, what if we let our friends ride the bikes around the block? Han explodes instantly. Boss, what if they crash? They do not even have insurance. Mai grabs her head again. That will not work either. Kwon Ho keeps pitching ideas. What if we sell them as scrap? But before he can finish, the door swings open. Director Choi walks in saying, just look at yourselves. Anyone would think the company went bankrupt. The second Mi and Kwon Ho see him, they freeze in absolute shock. Since it is his first time meeting him, Han wonders who this handsome psycho is. Choi smirks. Why those faces? You look like you are a second away from begging on your knees. Kwon Ho snaps back without hesitation. You have a lot of nerve showing up here in person. Right then, Yin walks into the office too. Why is there so much noise out here instead of the boardroom? She glares coldly at Choi. I doubt you came out of concern. Did you perhaps change your mind? Director Choi sneers. At least it seems they have not kicked you out yet. Moving to the conference room. Everyone sits and Director Choi gets straight to the point, asking honestly, how much money is actually going into my pocket? I need enough profit to justify betraying Director Han. Yin calmly slides a file over. That is 10 billion won for the bikes, another 10 billion for 35% of the last mile logistics, plus 10 billion more if we hit our targets. 20 billion won total. As soon as Choi hears that, even he is completely caught off guard. A branch deposit does not even cost a few hundred million yet. You offer 20 billion for 70% of an unstarted business. His gaze turns incredibly sharp. Do you take me for an idiot? Yin calmly explains their actual bigger vision to him. They are building local logistics hubs backed by a solid warehouse infrastructure, a system capable of controlling local food distribution. In exchange, Mujin Shipping gets exclusive operating rights in special zones. A 70-30 profit split with Mujin taking 70%. They only ask for temporary access to a small warehouse. That is it. Director Choi calculates the math in his head and asks his next question. Estimated annual profit, Yin is sure they'll pass 5,000 daily deliveries. Trust me, it's about to get intense. All right, you and I are jumping right into a wild ride where corporate revenge meets massive money. Director Choi slowly taps the file. 3 years sounds incredible, but can they actually make it happen? Even if there is a gold mine, who among you can dig it up? Suddenly, Kwon glares at him. For a split second, Choi's entire soul shivers. It is that terrifying aura pressing down on him again. But Quan casually covers it with a yawn while Yin continues explaining. Deep down, Choi starts doubting. So this is your little game, Quan. He finally stands up. Fine, I will give you 1 month. Let us see if this is a gold mine or a massive graveyard overseas. He smirks. Make me feel the real value of my 20 billion. Director Yijin. She nods politely. Thank you, but may I ask a personal favor? Choi raises an eyebrow. Yin smiles coldly. We have to completely fool Director Han. Set up a little show at the warehouse. Make it look like we got kicked out miserably. I still have an old score to settle with him. Hearing that, Choi grins widely. So a sweet taste of revenge done. We will put on an amazing show. Next scene. Sales team 1 warehouse. It is pouring rain as desperate employees scramble to move the motorbikes. Manager Park yells constantly, "Hurry up! They're just bikes. Why are you so slow?" Beside him, Manager Kim begs desperately, "Manager Park, please give us just 1 more day." But Park cuts him off. 1 more day. Maybe you should not have crossed Director Han in the first place. From afar, Quan and Yin watch quietly. Now watch closely because Manager Kim's acting right here seriously deserves an Academy Award. Yan smiles. If we are ready, let us go. Quan cracks his neck. Perfect now. It is our turn to fight back. Back to the present. Yin walks into the office right after the intense executive meeting. Everyone rushes over immediately. Manager Kim nervously asks how it went while Mi fears Han caused a massive scene. Yijin smiles calmly. Everything went well. Fortunately, they approved every single item on the agenda. The proposal was suspended. The entire office sighs in relief and Mi almost faints. Thank goodness we can breathe, though Manager Kim is still confused. How did you convince such a demanding board? Then Yijin drops the bomb. I did not say much. I just warned them that if we do not get results in a month, I will resign. Complete silence. And just when you and I think it is over, she jokes about them all getting fired. What even Quan is shocked. Han whispers in fear, asking if she is serious while Mi holds her head in despair. Are you really risking your entire career that easily? Quan just shrugs his shoulders. Actually, running a fried chicken stand does not sound too bad. Han excitedly raises his hand to do deliveries. Meanwhile, Manager Kim's soul literally leaves his body. But before total chaos erupts, Yijin claps to calm them. Either way, we bought valuable time and a huge opportunity. Why don't we start the real plan? We spent 3 weeks preparing. Manager Kim gets serious. Mi fires up and Quan smiles. Sounds great to me. Let us go there. But suddenly Han jumps up, shouting for them to wait. Are you really planning to do business there? Even gangsters and criminals avoid that area out of fear of getting stabbed. No human being should be delivering food in that place. Right then, we see a quick flash. Quen is standing alone in a dark alley surrounded by thugs. Bodies are lying scattered all over the ground. Quen looks furious. Yes, in that neighborhood they are entering. Even the criminals are terrified of the real monsters. Next scene, someone is talking on the phone inside an office. Did you seriously go out there? Then the camera reveals Director Choi smiling with his phone in hand. Yes, it takes real courage to make things interesting. Don't you think, Quan? The scene shifts instantly. Quen is at Didong Market talking to Choi. Beside him, Mi and Han look around nervously. This neighborhood, it looks totally sketchy, one of those places where even Google Maps refuses to go at night. Director Choi continues talking on the phone. I have finished changing the registration for the warehouse. I transferred everything to the Urban Distribution Center project. Basically an in-city logistics warehouse system. Just fancy words for storing food, delivering it lightning fast, and making massive money. But Choi's tone turns dead serious. I only gave you the warehouse. Now it is up to you to get results. With that warehouse locked tight, you and I are left waiting to see what happens next. Let's dive into this drama, even if you're the legendary Quan Sunun Ho. Quan just smiles. Impressive. You actually had time to dig into my past during all this. Choi calmly replies. That's easy. Then his voice drops. I just hope those famous fists haven't rusted under that tie. By the way, if you pull this off, how about working for me? I was thinking of doubling your salary. Jin pays. Quan laughs instantly. No matter how good the money is, how can a tiger serve a fox? Wow. He rejected him brutally and straight to the point. Then Quan calmly adds, though depending on how things go, I might actually consider you a friend. Click. He hangs up instantly. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Director Choi stares at his disconnected phone, feeling completely insulted. Left him hanging mid-negotiation. Over in Daeongmi gives Quan a highly suspicious look. Was that Director Choi? What exactly did he say to make you smile like that? Quen smiles calmly and says the warehouse transfer is ready, and if we fail, that place will be our grave. The moment Mi and Han hear that, they almost lose their minds, but Quan just adjusts his tie. Well, that only matters if we fail. We will make this work no matter what. Then we finally discover where they are, Diong Market. Now pay attention here because this place looks like pure chaos imported from another world. Han panics instantly. Can we still turn back? Even the delivery drivers I know avoid this place. This doesn't even feel like Korea anymore. Words are useless here. Mai looks around carefully. All the signs are in Chinese. Is this actually Chinatown? Then she notices restaurants everywhere. You said there are still spots here that don't use delivery apps, right? Han nods nervously. I made a list, but it won't be easy. This place has a terrible reputation. Quan asks how bad it is. Suddenly, a motorcycle zooms past. Mi is almost hit, but Quan grabs and saves her instantly. The driver screams insults as he speeds away. Mi quietly says she's fine. Meanwhile, Han has a total panic attack. I told you this place is completely lawless. Suddenly, Quan notices something. The driver had a panda logo on his jacket, and suddenly he spots panda delivery drivers all over Daeong. Right nearby, a restaurant owner desperately begs a delivery driver. Please, I beg you to deliver this order. It's already been 30 minutes. He can't keep refusing, but the guy just smokes, staring at his phone like some uncrowned king. I told you to raise the rate if you want deliveries. Nothing is free. I'm not wasting my time for what you pay for delivery. I bet you feel her frustration too, because they already doubled rates last month. How much more do they want? Then make more deliveries. Mi watches the argument silently. Are they fighting? Han nods. Looks like deliveries collapsed again. It happens here all the time. Then he points to a nearby restaurant. This is the spot. Let's go. But Quan doesn't move right away. He just stands there silently observing everything around them. Next scene. Inside the restaurant, Han proudly introduces the place. This is it. Deyoung's legendary 40-year-old restaurant. Quan looks impressed. And they still don't do deliveries. Mi looks at the packed dining room. It's already packed without delivery. If they used a platform, they'd make a fortune. Han instantly agrees. At this rate, they'd be drowning in cash. Why don't they? Mi suggests speaking with the owner first. Right. Then a friendly waitress approaches to take their order. Mi immediately hands over her card. Hi, we are from Samjin Trading. We wanted to speak with the owner about a partnership. But suddenly a voice cuts in. What the hell is this garbage? Everyone turns around. A group of gangsters cause chaos at another table, led by a bald guy whose head shines under the restaurant lights like a freshly polished bowling ball. The bald guy keeps shouting that this is already the 5th time they have found a hair in their food. What kind of hygiene is this? Meanwhile, the shameless punk drops cigarette ash onto the plate while his henchmen laugh. And he goes on saying, they serve food even beggars wouldn't touch. I'd love to see what fools would pay for this garbage. The entire restaurant goes completely silent. Suddenly, the waitress snaps. Enough! Do you really think this will make us give in to your demands? The bald guy smirked. That's the whole point. If you close down or sign a delivery contract with us, this problem goes away right. The waitress explodes, calling them parasites and telling them to get out. The bald guy stands up in a rage. What did you say, want to die? But before everything escalates, Quan steps in. Trust me, we are about to see something wild. All right, stick with me here. Everyone freezes, the bald guy is shocked, and Quan just stares at his soup. Well, there really is a hair in here. He calmly pulls it out, but this short, stiff specimen looks more like... Then he slowly glances at the guy's bald head. Body hair. The restaurant goes dead silent. This man just started a baldness forensic analysis. Next, Quan gently places the hair right onto the guy's shiny bald head. He found the owner. Looks like it came from right here. Han almost dies laughing while Mi's spirit literally ascends to heaven. And Quan keeps going. You almost blame the restaurant for something that literally fell off your own body. That's pretty pathetic. Though I get why you don't want to accept losing your hair. Am I wrong? I would not know I still have all of mine. That line hurt more than physical trauma. The bald thug loses control. You miserable bastard. But Quan keeps smiling, totally calm. Guys like you always act the exact same way. So predictable. Suddenly the bald guy throws a punch, but Quan effortlessly dodges and sweeps his leg. Down he goes. The bald idiot faceplants right onto the table, getting soup all over his head. Quan looks down at him with pure contempt. You said the food was disgusting, but you cleaned the entire plate. And he smiles. You're supposed to eat with your mouth, not your forehead. The whole restaurant almost explodes with laughter. Even the waitress is stunned. Meanwhile, the bald thug completely loses his mind and pulls out a knife. I will kill you. Now don't blink here. Han and Mi panic and the waitress warns him, but Quan just smiles totally relaxed. Look, if you draw a weapon first, then boom! Quan lands a massive strike to his skull and slams him into the floor. So this easily qualifies as self-defense. The bald thug is left folded up like cheap laundry. Seeing their boss wreck, the other thugs rush screaming toward Quan. You bastard! How dare you touch our boss? Classic dialogue from background villains. But Quan does not even blink. He grabs one of their wrists. Crack. The knife hits the floor. Then a kick. Two guys knocked out instantly. Everyone freezes as that opening flashback finally makes sense. This was the scene where Quan took everyone out. Meat looks at him completely shocked. Who are you, really, Quan? Meanwhile, Han seems to have reached enlightenment. Damn, the guy's a legend. You saw that too, right? While everyone cleans up this massive mess, Quan calmly drinks tea like nothing even happened. Across from him, the waitress sits down in silence. Quan takes another sip. This Hong Pao tea is truly comforting. It cleared my mind instantly. The waitress looks at him in surprise. Do you know about tea? Quan smiles calmly. I worked in Fuzhou years ago. Drank enough tea there to always remember. The waitress nods slowly. Ah, I see. Meanwhile, Han looks around confused. Why does everyone still look so depressed? Didn't we win? The waitress sighs. I really appreciate the help, but do you know who those guys actually were? Listen carefully. They're the Panda Riders, a Chinese mafia that forces everyone to look the other way. Nobody messes with them. Then she looks directly at Quan. Thank you, but what happens now? What if they come looking for you? Quan calmly sets down his cup. I know exactly how these places work. In the end, it is just another place where people live. Next scene, a dark hideout where someone puts out their cigarette. So 3 against 1 and you drag the Panda name through the mud. Behind him, the same restaurant thugs stand terrified. One of them desperately explains he appeared out of nowhere, looking like a regular office worker, but the boss cuts him off with a cold smile. So you know nothing. Are your mouths only good for stuffing your faces? The thugs immediately break out into a cold sweat. Then the bald guy finally confesses that it was some bastard from the Shenzhen Trading Company. The boss picks up a stone, smiling. Well, a major corporation, huh? His expression turns genuinely sinister. They walked in with zero fear, clueless about what they got into. Truly a chilling smile. Next scene, the restaurant waitress finally begins to explain the entire situation. And yes, her name is Yura. Turns out Dong was not always such a disaster. Guangjin. The flashback begins. Before Dong was constantly clashing over deliveries. Many owners were elderly Chinese immigrants whose Korean was not very fluent. That is why delivery drivers always humiliated, scammed, and harassed them. Yura says they suffered too. We see a chef yelling at the delivery guy. Stick with me, because next time, we'll watch this war explode. Come watch this with me. Food vanishes from deliveries, and the culprit just laughs in their faces. Those people only see what they want. They keep arguing until a massive blow to the helmet sends the rider flying. Everyone freezes in shock. Finally, the man's face is revealed. Guangjin, young, charismatic, dressed in an elegant suit with a cold gaze. The typical guy anyone would fall for. Shangjin looks at the writer with pure contempt, talking about the hard work honest people do to feed their families. Is this funny to you? He looks around. These streets belong to hard-working folks that trash like you shouldn't even step on. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts completely, and Yura continues her narration. From then on, Shangjin claimed they were brothers who needed to stick together. Whenever trouble brewed, he always showed up. If there was ever a delivery mistake, he apologized personally. Slowly, the entire market placed their trust in him. The memory goes on. Shangjin meets with Yura's father at his restaurant, who actually owns the entire establishment. The old man slams the table in a rage. Those delivery drivers used to bow down whenever you stepped in. But now they're even worse. If they attacked us directly, we could fight back. But instead of that, now pay attention, they boycott peak hour deliveries, spread nasty kitchen rumors, and completely destroy our hard-earned trust. He clenches his fist in frustration. For any business, trust is everything, but without proof, their hands are tied. Shangjin calmly smiles and offers to run the deliveries. He explains he already managed a massive logistics network in China. At the end of the day, it is about initiative. Those guys control the zone, so we will build our own unbeatable system. Then he locks eyes with the owner. I promise everyone here will eat and live well. The old man nods. A passionate youth like him deserves total support. So he agrees to pitch the idea to the Merchants Association. Right then, Shangjin flashes a smirk of pure victory. But looking back, that smile was incredibly fake. Like a politician kissing babies right before stealing your tax money. Soon, the Panda delivery service exploded in the neighborhood. Low rates, kindness, and prosperity, all those sweet words sounded perfect. And slowly, I bet you saw this coming, all rivals vanished, leaving only Panda. Now the mask falls as we look back. A merchant drops to his knees in despair. Meanwhile, Shangjin just sits back calmly smoking a cigarette. You did not think free stuff would last forever, did you? There is no endless charity here, he smiles softly. We brought peace here. Delivery fights are over, so it is only fair you pay a little extra now. The terrified owner panics. President Gu, we never agreed to any of these hidden fees in our original contract. Shangjin tosses a contract sheet at him with pure disdain. It is written right there. We kept our end. Now do your part. He gently pats his shoulder, saying, hard-working folks like him can easily afford it. That sinister smile again. Absolute evil. And that is how Panda began draining the neighborhood dry. Back to the present. Yura's face darkens. I do not know what tricks they are pulling, but those guys are not just riders anymore. They are parasites devouring the neighborhood. Suddenly, her voice starts to shake. My father went to confront them to sort things out, but they ran him over and fled the scene. He has been bedridden ever since. A heavy silence fills the room, and even Han stops joking for once. Outside, Mji lets out a tired sigh. It is getting late, so we should probably head home too. Han agrees instantly. No way I'm coming back here. There were panda guys everywhere. I almost had a heart attack. At this rate, my nerves will totally collapse. MGE completely ignores his whining. With this dark mood, I get why nobody wants to work with us. GI worries they will have nothing for the next meeting. Should we just abandon this area? Suddenly, she completely freezes. Wait, where did Quan go? Han replies casually, saying he had one last spot to check to make his final sales pitch. MG smiles softly. Seeing his incredible grit makes her realize that is exactly what this job requires. But then a terrifying realization hits them. Quan is entirely alone in there, total silence. Panic washes over them. There is no way he is just sitting still. What if he starts another fight? Cut to the association room. Quan is sitting incredibly relaxed, playing mahjong with a group of elderly Chinese men. And that is where this madman leaves us successfully infiltrated. What do you think happens next? All right, let's dive in and meet this guy who is an absolute monster at mahjong. Just look at how fast his fingers move. This dude must have been the god of mahjong in his past life, leaving everyone else to cry. The situation was already bad, but now this brat has left me completely broke, not a single penny left. With the panda crew emptying my pockets, I'll have to survive on scraps while Quan just smiles arranging his tiles. Having an almost perfect hand doesn't guarantee victory. Sometimes that final 1% is what decides everything. 13 orphans. Absolute silence in the room. Everyone loses their minds, and even the ladies are left completely stunned. And our main character is dressed totally different today. Red shirt, black jacket, radiating a massive mafia boss vibe. A woman suspiciously asks whose son this incredibly talented kid is. It seems everyone is finally going to listen when suddenly someone recognizes him as the Samjin delivery guy. Whispers break out instantly. What is a delivery guy doing here? But he just introduces himself with total composure. Kwan Sung-ho from Samjin Trading. Right after that, he slides all his winnings back onto the table. I'll give you every single penny if you give me 5 minutes of your time, he says, stroking his tiles. Even if Panda is a giant business isn't won by fame alone. The real problem here is a total lack of competition. Watch closely now, because Panda's dirty tricks basically turn them into an untouchable hand of 13 orphans. But if a single tile is missing, the whole strategy collapses. No matter how much they roar, they're still incomplete. The entire room is listening intently now, and one man begins to doubt. If a huge corporation steps in, maybe things will change, but another guy abruptly cuts him off to shut him up. Think a company can solve what even the police couldn't. Just then, an old man steps in. Do you even understand what you're saying, kid? This is dangerous. Don't risk your life and just go home. Or do you want to involve another outsider and watch them end up covered in blood? His next words freeze Quan. Want him to end up like his father, Quan tenses, but before he can speak, the door bursts open. And right here, you and I can see things get messy as a panicked guy bursts in, screaming for Boss Yura. Panda's men took her. Everyone panics knowing this means absolute ruin for their entire family. If anyone interferes, they'll end up just like his father. The messenger tearfully begs for some help. We are countrymen. How can you just stand there watching? But absolute silence reigns and fear paralyzes the room. Suddenly, Quan stands up and pins on his employee badge. It seems talking isn't going to cut it anymore. Taking action is my specialty. He steps forward firmly, promising he will bring Yura back. The old man yells at him to stay out of it, to avoid more casualties, but Quan just smiles confidently. Like I said before, without every single piece, the 13 orphans' hand is worth absolutely nothing. And that includes all of you too. Everyone stares in awe, wondering who this mysterious kid really is. There's no kingdom without subjects to kneel and no real power if nobody bows to their 13 terminals. Is his hand even complete? All of you together practically handed that power to Shang Jin, he concludes with a smirk. If nobody feared him from the start, he wouldn't hold any real power. That's just how business works. He reaches out to the messenger, saying that sales are all about making the impossible happen. His gaze sharpens as he promises to rescue Yura while the scene shifts over to the panda offices. Yura waits tensely inside the office of Shang Jin, who smiles and claims he ordered a polite escort. They might have been rough, but nobody's hurting you today. A phrase that sounds illegal in 17 countries. She glares at him with disgust, calling out their kidnap attempt and demands to be let go right now. He simply slides a contract over, telling her to relax and read it, which instantly makes her laugh. She knows it's a scam, but is shocked to see a tax exemption. Shang Jin admits they lost. We didn't travel this far to fight endlessly with our countrymen, since shedding blood only hurts everyone involved. His expression softens as he admits this exhausting feud has only caused sales to plummet even further. Your employees live in fear, and your dad is hospitalized. Then he slowly leans forward. Wouldn't you prefer peace of mind? We compromised a lot, so this is practically an act of charity. She hesitates, asking if they'll spare her staff, leaving us completely dying to know what happens next. Right when Yura is about to sign that awful contract, let's see who crashes the party at the door. Anyone home? Everyone turns around as a thug yells, demanding to know who the hell he is and if he's blind. Yura's eyes widen in absolute shock. It's Quan casually walking right through the front door. The guy bows slightly, apologizing for interrupting. He says he's here for an important client and grabs the paper with total calm. My bad, looks like I ruined a business meeting, he says, asking Shangjin for a lighter without flinching. You really should read contracts carefully, especially when there's tiny hidden text written somewhere on them, or when secret writing appears later. And just like that, he slowly starts burning the paper. Now pay attention here. The heat reveals the hidden trap clauses, and Quan smiles, calling it the red thread scam. Ever heard of that trick? Everyone freezes in shock, and the boss's expression twists into a cold smile. He didn't expect anyone in Korea to know that dirty trick. His eyes turn deadly as he recognizes Sam Jin. Seeing the hidden letters reveal themselves on the scorched paper, poor Yura goes pale, realizing the massive scam. If she signed, she would have handed over her own restaurant. Yeah, that blow hurt more than a massive debt. Meanwhile, he looks at her calmly, telling her they can skip the formal introductions for later. And before anyone can even react, he throws her over his shoulder like it is nothing and heads out. Everyone is absolutely stunned. Even she panics, screaming and demanding to know what he's doing. Talk about a professional rescue. A bald thug immediately steps in, blocking their path. Where do you think you're going? The boss is not done talking. That is when Shangjin steps in. Easy there. What is the rush? He asks, rising as he grabs a heavy ashtray. Kids are so impatient these days. He slowly walks toward Quan, reminding him that if memory serves, they still have unfinished business to settle. I heard you caused trouble for my boys, but that was just a misunderstanding during routine work. Right. Suddenly, he hurls that heavy ashtray straight at Quan's face. If you're going to settle things, do it properly. Everyone holds their breath, but in a split second, the bald thug collapses to the floor. Blood gushes from his head. Turns out the ashtray smashed directly into his own man. Everyone freezes. Clutching his bleeding forehead, the bald guy begs desperately for his life. Meanwhile, Shangjin calmly wipes his hand and looks at Quan. There, take that as my apology. Quain stares at him seriously, replying that at this rate, he will end up dead if he keeps apologizing. You saw that too, right? He casually tells the bleeding guy to call labor rights when he wakes up, promoting labor rights in the middle of a gangster meeting. Another member nervously approaches the boss. Boss, should we grab him? But Shangjin just quietly lights up another cigarette. Back off, you useless trash, you aren't on his level. He glares at Quan, amazed. He didn't blink. Haven't seen anyone interesting in ages. Cut to the Merchant Association. Quan walks out with bags full of dumplings, warmly waving goodbye to the local vendors. They all watch him leave in silence until one confesses he never thought he'd actually pull it off. I signed out of pure instinct. Are we safe making an enemy of Panda? The old man replies thoughtfully. Other companies only offered sweet talk, but this young man saved Yura's shop with his own hands. He looks outside, thinking that maybe this kid can actually tear down Panda's corrupt empire. Scene change the office. A massive mountain of glorious-smelling dumplings sits on the table. Manager Kim stares at the pile, totally confused. What is this? Some kind of dumpling festival? Mi quickly explains the whole situation. Quan came back after locking down exclusive contracts with 10 restaurants, and these are today's delicious leftovers. He is already eating them like a wild animal. They taste amazing, selling out is practically guaranteed. Seriously, he eats like he fought through 12 turf wars before having his lunch. Mai sighs while arranging the files. The local shops cannot make so little food either. But if they cook too much, nothing guarantees sales. It would be perfect to predict exact demand to avoid waste. Hearing that, Manager Kim freezes and slowly raises his eyes. Everyone immediately notices the sudden shift. Oh, he has a crazy plan. Stick with me to see what he does at the meeting. Let's dive into this absolute madness together. Mai blinks in pure confusion, while Kwan just keeps stuffing his face with meatballs. Did he actually figure something out? And Manager Kim slowly smiles. A system where they prep food in massive batches, sell out, and waste nothing. His eyes sharpen. With this, 10 stores will completely crush Panda. Dead silence. Everyone just stares at him. Even Han stops chewing mid-bite. Honestly, that shows how serious this is, because this guy usually chews louder than a construction drill. Next, Manager Kim points right at the meatballs. The answer was right in front of us the entire time. Cut to the meeting room, complete with a whiteboard and documents scattered everywhere. For once, this crew actually looks like a real company, instead of chaos survivors. Meanwhile, Manager Kim explains the entire plan with absolute confidence. 7,901 for fried rice and mapo tofu. He asks seriously how they think the customers will react. Han fires back without a single second of hesitation. They will call it crazy and order immediately. Then he narrows his eyes suspiciously. But at that price, would we not be losing way too much money? Manager Kim just smiles calmly. It is true there is barely any profit per order, but I'm not looking at individual dishes. He taps the board. 7,900 is a massive gamble, but not just to steal customers. It is to sync up delivery times. Han gets completely lost, looking like math just personally insulted his entire existence. Kim sketches out diagrams on the whiteboard. Normally, home delivery orders are scattered all over. Different times, menus, and destinations. That is why delivery drivers hit a limit. Now pay close attention to this move. What happens if we create the exact same demand at the same time in one area? Fixed menus during peak hours, limited choices, and aggressive pricing to cluster orders. Everyone starts to put the pieces together. Honestly, Manager Kim radiates an insane aura, like he is some legendary veteran of corporate warfare. He confidently continues, if the orders pile up, a single driver can easily deliver to 10 different places at once, even 15 if the routes overlap. Director Yi Jen opens her eyes, looking totally stunned and deeply impressed. Meanwhile, Han and Kwan are totally lost. They look like two gym bros accidentally trapped in an advanced economics class. But Ma gets it instantly. Of course, the orders naturally overlap by area. The manager points right at her. Exactly. In crowded office districts, during peak hours, everyone orders at the exact same time. He keeps explaining. If too many orders flood a single restaurant, the kitchen slows to a crawl. So we simplify the menu with popular dishes, fast prep, and maximum output. He forcefully draws circles and arrows. The goal is not to win by being cheap. It is about clustering demand by zone timing and flow. I know what you are thinking, but just 10 orders completely change the game. He turns back to face everyone. Delivery looks like a one-man job, but if you organize it right, it turns into pure efficient logistics. And when it becomes logistics, it turns into a weapon that only Sam Jin can wield. The room falls dead silent. Even Han actually looks smart for about 3 seconds. Meanwhile, Yijin starts running the heavy numbers in her head. Guro Jamilyong Dumpo. Just those 3 districts hold 1,200,000 people during peak rush hours, with 45% ordering food that is 540,000 active users. Drop a promotional menu at 7,901 and capture just 3% of that. That is at least 15,000 orders a day. Complete silence. Han almost chokes on his own breath. Not even Panda can pull those numbers in a single district. The manager smiles once again. If Panda operates through scattered points, we are going to connect them using strategic lines. It will be tough starting out, but with 500 drivers doing 6 deliveries an hour at peak times, we can do it. The shops gain volume, drivers become efficient, customers save their money. It is a win for everyone. Han raises his hand. Wait, how will 10 tiny shops cook that much even if we unify the menus? They can barely fit 10 tables inside and their kitchens are smaller than my own bathroom. Honestly, coming from someone who probably lives in a closet that is saying a lot. Me agrees completely. Even with enough staff, ingredients would run out fast and it is impossible to store that much. There is just no room to hold it all. Suddenly, Kwan speaks up. What if we supply ingredients in real time? Everyone stares at him and he just grins. We have director Choi's MFC warehouse. Trust me, that is a brilliant play, guys. Let's dive right in. As soon as he speaks, Han and Miji get it instantly. They completely forgot about the warehouse. Meanwhile, manager Kim nods along. Exactly. That is the real purpose of a distribution center, he explains while pointing to the board. Unlike basic delivery companies, we are not just delivering food. We are going to handle the raw ingredient distribution ourselves. Director Yi Jin smirks at the genius plan. This way, restaurants can focus solely on cooking their food. Before they run out of stock, we replenish them directly from the center. Manager Kim nods confidently, low delivery margins, but massive distribution profits. He crosses his arms, looking incredibly proud. Watch closely here with this strategy. Just 10 restaurants can absolutely crush Panda. The mood completely shifts from desperate to downright dangerous. It feels like they are genuinely about to turn the entire food market upside down. Finally, Kwan stands up, oozing absolute confidence. Everything is set, and with a chilling, devilish smile, he delivers the killer line. Let us launch Samjin delivery. Instantly, Han starts clapping like a hilariously drunk uncle at a family wedding. MGE sighs in utter exhaustion, but even she cannot hide her growing smile. And for once in this chaotic disaster, genuine hope fills the team. They feel like maybe, just maybe, they can actually win this insane war. And that is exactly where the episode leaves us. And trust me, you and I will be waiting like crazy for Samjin's official launch. If you love this, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment. So tell me honestly, would you actually trust Kwan to deliver your food, or would you worry that your delivery comes with severe emotional trauma included?